Chapter 522. Was it just because she lied to him more than 20 years ago so he was going to lie to her again now? How could it be? How could it be? Rong Xian ran toward the back, her mind blank. The long Cheongsam skirt had been rolled up by her. She threw away her coat so that she could run faster. But what about Rong Haiyue? Rong Haiyue? What about him? The abandoned factory was very big, really big. There were glass shards and rusty nails on the ground around them, and Rong Xian's feet were already bloody. Finally, in the back. On the other side of the abandoned factory, in the opposite direction from where they had just stood, there were two people lying. One of them was burning fiercely and was on the verge of death. He was wearing a police uniform and his long hair had long been burnt to ashes. His body was twitching. But she was not dead yet. The other one, 4 or 5 meters away from the burning policewoman, was smoking slowly but motionless. Rong Xian's tears fell immediately. She rushed up and turned the man over. Very hot, very hot. Rong Haiyue was burned to a bloody mess, but he was not dead, not dead. Found it, finally found it. Ah. Rong Xian hugged him and couldn't help crying. Rong Haiyue. Rong Haiyue vaguely seemed to hear someone calling him. The voice was so familiar to his bones. Wasn't this the voice of the woman he had been trying to please for more than 20 years? Was she crying? Was she calling his name? Rong Haiyue opened his eyes in a daze and could only see a shadow reflected in the fire. Rong Xian wiped her tears and said, "Wait, I will call someone." Then she carefully put him down and then thought of something. She used all her strength to drag him out. After a full 10 or 20 meters away from the fire, she stopped. When she walked to the policewoman was still burning. However, she was no longer moving. There was blood flowing out of her head and it was hideous. Dead, she was burned to death alive. "I'm sorry?" Rong Xian said and then ran back the way she came. Just then the ambulance and the fire truck had arrived. Rong Xian was ecstatic and shouted, "Help! Someone was still alive, someone was still alive. Help!" Kingstown Morning News. Last night, an abandoned factory in the eastern suburbs of Kingstown caught fire and exploded. According to investigations, this was originally an electrical factory. After being abandoned, the old factory did not recycle some of the waste electrical appliances, which led to the tragedy. The firefighters worked overnight to put out the fire. It wasn't until 5:37 a.m. this morning that the fire was completely extinguished. A policewoman behind the factory was unfortunately killed by the explosion. Another person was seriously injured. No bodies were found at the scene of the explosion. Traces of DNA found at the scene include the former CEO of the Tang Group, now wanted for economic fraud, Mr. Tang, the current captain of the Kingstown Criminal Police Unit 3rd Team, Mr. Xie, and the most respected CEO of the Li Group. Seeing this news, Old Master Li's heart, which had been on tenterhooks all night, was finally confirmed. Lu Sa's breathing suddenly quickened. Seeing this, she hurried over and said, "Old Master, you?" Chapter 523. Seeing this, Lu Sa knew that she could not hide it anymore. The tears that she had finally stopped came again. Captain Li slumped onto the sofa. His eyes were slightly red and his breathing quickened. "Captain, don't be like this. Mr. Li, where is Chanshan?" Captain Li's eyes were misty and he took a deep breath. "Where is Chanshan?" "In the hospital. Mr. Li and his wife are all there." "Ha, very good. The whole family is hiding it from me." Lu Sa felt guilty. When she was about to explain, she heard Captain Li's weak voice. "Take me there. Chanshan will not be able to handle it." Lu Sa heard that and burst into tears. She said, "Damn it. The two of them are so close. They always hold each other when they go out and Mr. Li is gone." Mrs. Li, how could she handle it? As Lu Sa and Captain Li said, Su Chinsi could not handle it at all. Raising her hand and touching her bulging belly, Su Chinsi looked at the ceiling. Her eyes were empty, but her tears could not be stopped. Outside, the doctor was telling Qin Shuhua and Li Xiao in a loud voice, and Su Chinsi heard it clearly. "Be sure to rest well. The baby has symptoms of threatened abortion. It is already so big and the possibility of twins being born prematurely is very high. It is best to rest well before giving birth. Be sure to control the mood of the pregnant woman." Control the mood of the pregnant woman. Hearing this, Su Chinsi suddenly felt very funny. However, he couldn't smile no matter what. Liar. Li Xiqing was a liar, a big liar. They had agreed that she would protect the baby and herself, and he would come out later. However, why did he not come out? Why not? How could he not come out? How dare he not come out? They had clearly agreed that he would spend every birthday with her in the future. But now, only one had passed. And the wedding he gave her, the honeymoon she wanted, the name he gave the baby, gone, everything was gone. Everything was engulfed in that huge fire. But, wasn't he Li Xiqing? Every time she was wronged, he would come to her side like a god. Every time she was in pain, he would appear. But what about the future? What about the future? What would she do without him? Li Xiqing was so excellent, so cold and arrogant. How could he lie? How could he die? Su Qianxi, I love you forever. The last words he said to her, the last words. Her voice was low and soft, weak but sincere. He looked at her, his eyes as bright as the stars, so beautiful that they almost swallowed her. But he could no longer see it, no longer. She grabbed the blanket and gritted her teeth. She sobbed in a low voice, but did not let herself make a sound. The door of the ward was pushed open, making a slight sound. She immediately covered her head with the quilt, sniffed and wiped her tears. Seeing this, Qin Shuhua felt even worse. She went up and sat by the bed. Holding Su Qianxi's hand, she said kindly, if you want to cry, just cry it out. What was the use of crying? If she cried, would he come back? However, his heart was in so much pain that he was about to suffocate. What should she do? She didn't want to live anymore. She also wanted to follow him, and leave together. Chapter 524. Don't make wild guesses. 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 P.S. Empty chapter, author's speech, free. Chapter 525. Su Qianxi covered herself with the quilt, her shoulders shaking. Her heavy and hurried breathing revealed her current state without a doubt. Qin Shuhua covered her mouth, let go of Su Qianxi's hand, got up and walked out of the ward. As soon as she saw Li Xiao, Qin Shuhua couldn't help crying. Li Xiao, what should we do? Our son, our son. Li Xiao's eyes were also red and he took out a tissue to wipe her tears. Qin Shuhua squatted down and cried her heart out. When Li Beixing came back, he was still wearing a military green uniform, but he still did not see Li Xiqing's body. At this moment he was gasping, looking at his parents and brother waiting at the door of the ward. His face was full of disbelief. Walking forward, Li Beixing put his hand on Li Jinan's shoulder. Li Jinan took a deep breath and his eyes were already red. Seeing Li Beixing coming over, he turned around and gave him a big hug. Li Beixing had never seen Li Jinan like this. His heart was getting emptier and emptier. Looking into the room, he asked, "Sister-in-law is inside?" "Yes." Li Jinan let go of him, his eyes slightly wet. "Since she came here, she has not made a sound," secretly crying. Li Beixing took a step back, looking at them. The tall and straight military green figure was indescribably majestic. He asked, "Have you seen his body?" "No." Li Jinan covered his face in pain and sat on the stool. His voice was slightly choked, with a strong sense of self-blame. "How can I see a body after such a big explosion? How can there be no body? Isn't there a body?" Li Beixing did not want to believe that the high-spirited and decisive Li Xiqing was gone. "Are you kidding me? Any of them could die first, but Li Xiqing definitely had the last laugh. He was despicable and shameless. His endurance and perseverance were also extraordinary, and his vitality was even more tenacious. How could he be dead? If he is alive, I want to see him. If he is dead, I absolutely will not believe that he is dead without seeing his body." Li Beixing's voice was sonorous, looking at Li Jinan. "Have you looked for him? Are you sure?" Li Jinan did not speak, nor did he take his hand away. He just covered his face and sat quietly. Suddenly, someone in a police uniform came over. When he saw them, he asked, "Are you Li Xiqing's family? I'm the policeman in charge of this case. My surname is Li." Li Jinan finally looked up at the police officer. "We found a relic that might belong to Mr. Li at the scene. Your family can confirm it?" Bang. The door of the ward was suddenly pushed open with great force. After being slammed into the wall, it bounced back. A slender figure trotted over barefoot. Su Qianxi's face was pale, her eyes were red and swollen, and her hair was messy. She looked at what the police officer was holding. That thing was wrapped in a plastic bag. It was burnt black by the fire, and its shape had completely melted. However, from the blurry figure and the small diamond and gem that were burnt to ashes, it could be seen that it was originally a bird-like creature. Seeing it, Su Chenxi's lips trembled and she grabbed it. He reached out to touch his neck, where he was wearing a noble and elegant swan. The lines were smooth, soft, and delicate. Looking at the gemstone and the diamond, these two should have been a pair. Chapter 526. This was what swans were like. They were loyal to love, to the other half, until death. Su Chenxi's eyes were blurred. She did not want to cry. Li Xiqing was not there. No one would care for her and no one would help her wipe her tears. She looked down and big tears fell on the soles of her feet. Su Chenxi found that she had forgotten to wear shoes again. It was really cold. Li Xiqing, help me bring my shoes over and rub my feet just like this morning, okay? No one responded. Su Chenxi's lips twitched, feeling a splitting headache. People around her seemed to be talking, but she could not hear a word. Slowly turning around, she walked toward the bed without saying a word. So tired, so tired. Honey, hold me. I can't stand still. I'm going to fall. Her vision was getting darker and darker and her body was getting weaker and weaker. Her legs softened and she fell straight to the side. In the next few days, Su Chenxi spent all her time in sleep. She had a bad appetite, very bad. She basically relied on fluids to maintain her physical strength. Finally, on the 4th day, she asked to be discharged. Returning to the old house, she fell asleep again. When she woke up again, it was already evening. There was no light in the room and it was very dark. When Su Chenxi opened her eyes, she immediately saw a tall figure standing by the bed. His figure was straight and he was wearing a suit. He seemed to have sensed that she had woken up and turned to look at her. His eyebrows were like a painting, his facial features were cold and delicate, and his jaw was tight. When he saw her, his eyes slightly curved. Su Chenxi looked at him incredulously and froze for a moment. Li Xiqing's eyes were full of love, looking at her tenderly. Turning around, he walked over slowly, reached out and rubbed her hair. He smiled and said, "You are getting lazier and lazier." Su Chenxi's eyes were filled with tears. Reaching out, she wanted to touch his hand. However, when her hand just reached out, the handsome figure suddenly disappeared. In the dim light there was nothing. No one. No Li Xiqing. There was nothing. Honey. Su Chenxi suddenly got up and reached for the place where he had just stood, but what she caught was only air. Nothing, nothing, nothing at all. Large drops of water fell. Su Chenxi hugged the quilt, hugged her knees and curled up in the corner of the bed, crying loudly. The door was knocked, but Su Chenxi did not seem to hear it. She covered her head and did not move. The door was quickly opened. The old man walked in with his walking stick and turned on the lights. Luxurious crystal lamps hung high in the sky. Warm yellow light shone down, illuminating everything. Old Master Li slowly walked up, moved the stool by the dressing table and sat down by the bed. Su Chenxi finally came back to herself, took a tissue to wipe her tears and called, "Grandpa." Old Master Li looked at her with heartache. His eyes were slightly wet. He nodded and asked kindly, "Shall we eat?" "Grandpa hasn't eaten yet. I'm getting old and can't help being hungry." "I'm not hungry," she said with a hiccup. "How can I not be hungry? I didn't eat last night. I slept in the morning and noon. I have to eat a little." "You're not hungry but the child is." Chapter 527. How could it be? How could it be? If it were not for these two children, if it were not for these two children. Su Chenxi's eyes dimmed. She stroked her belly and did not speak. "Grandpa is old and I can't afford to lose anyone. It's best if all of you are alive and well, or bless me to kick my legs when I sleep at night." "Grandpa," Su Chenxi interrupted him and sobbed again. "Don't say that." She had lost Li Xiqing and she could not lose Grandpa. No one could. If even her grandfather was gone, then in this world she would really have no more relatives. Her beloved Grandpa, her beloved Li Xiqing. Grandpa Li did not speak, looked at her and said softly, "Come out for dinner. Your good friend is here to see you." "My good friend?" "A young man named Lu. He is polite and well-behaved. I asked him to stay for dinner. When you go out we can start eating." Grandpa looked at her lovingly and stood up with a smile. "Hurry and wash up. Don't let your good friend see you as a joke." Su Chenxi was a bit dazed and nodded after a long while. When Grandpa went out he closed the door. Su Chenxi got up and looked at the clothes she was wearing. It was a long-sleeved spring pajamas. Li Xiqing picked it for her. Lifting the quilt and sitting on the edge of the bed, Su Chenxi's feet touched the ground, which was cold. At this time, a pair of big hands would bring her a pair of furry shoes. While helping her put them on, he warned, Next time don't kick the shoes under the bed. Su Qianxi whispered with red eyes, squatted down and took out a pair of shoes from under the bed. She put them on and went into the bathroom. His towel, his toothbrush, his cup, his razor, his aftershave, all of them were there clean and tidy. Su Qianxi glanced at them and was slightly dazed. But soon she began to wash up. She had not eaten for a few days and she did not have much energy. After taking a shower and drying her hair, she walked into the cloakroom and opened the closet, which was full of clothes. 3/4 of them were hers and only a very small part of them were his. However, when did she have so many? Since when did she have so many clothes? All of them were the latest and most fashionable spring clothes of the season. There were a few that she had worn before, but most of them were brand new, washed and hung there quietly. She had never even seen them before. She took a floral dress that Li Xiqing had worn for her and put it on. However, she could not zip it up. She then realized that her body had become a bit clumsy. No matter how hard she tried, she could not pull herself up. I'm just pregnant. It's not like I can't take care of myself. You dress me every day. What if I can't find my own clothes in the future? Then I'll help you wear them until you grow old. His deep and mellow voice seemed to still be ringing in her ears, softly tugging at her heartstrings. Su Qianxi looked at the wardrobe full and after a long while she whispered, "Honey, help me pull it up. I can't reach it." However, there was no response. Su Qianxi's heart was terribly empty, and the bursts of pain made her almost breathless. In the future, no one would help her put on clothes or zip her up. No one would suddenly appear when she was helpless and at a loss. No one would say anything or smile. Instead, they would stare at her gently and say, "Honey, let's go home." Chapter 528. The huge room was terrifyingly empty. In the future, she had to rely on herself. Everything she did, she had to rely on herself. Eat by herself, sleep by herself, and shower by herself. No one would warn her to wear shoes when she got out of bed, and no one would warn her not to sneak snacks before going to bed every day. Every day, no one would wake her up, accompany her to eat, buy her clothes. However, could she still live like this? Yes, wasn't it the same in her previous life? No one helped her, no one looked at her, and no one would care about her emotions. At that time, so many years had passed, hadn't it? Now, God just gave it all back to her again. That was all. What right did she have to become so unreasonable and delicate now? It's all your fault. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she refused to fall. You spoiled me and then disappeared. What do you want me to do in the future? What should I do? Her heart ached fiercely and also fiercely empty. The person who had once lived in her heart had cruelly pulled himself out, leaving her alone to face everything, all alone and helpless. Qian, are you done? Grandpa's voice with a kind, tentative tone. Su Qianxi quickly wiped her tears, tried to make her voice calm and said, "I'll be right there." After much effort, he finally zipped it up. She simply applied some makeup to make herself look less awkward. After that, she tied up her hair to make herself look more energetic. Patting her face, she finally walked out. The family Li Sun, Li Xiao, Qin Shuhua, Li Jinan, and Li Beixing were all there as well as two outsiders who should not be here, Lu Yihan and Luo Zhan. At the moment when he saw Su Qianxi under the rimless glasses, a pair of peach blossom eyes flashed with distress and tears. "You've lost weight." His voice was unusually low and hoarse. Luo Zhan noticed that something was wrong with him and elbowed him. Lu Yihan had a smile on his face and called, "Chan." Su Qianxi also smiled, but the smile was just a little curve. "Why are you here? Look at you." Lu Yihan did not avoid it, and his eyes fell on her belly. "You must have not eaten well recently. You are too thin, even thinner than before you were pregnant. This is not good for the child." Not only did she lose weight, but her eyes were also swollen like walnuts. Although she had put on makeup, she still couldn't hide her paleness. All because of Li Xiqing. Lu Sa quickly brought out the dishes and shouted, "Come and eat. Mr. Lu also cooked something just now. It looks delicious. Come on, second young mistress, I heard that it's your favorite. It's still warm." Hearing that, Su Qianxi was slightly dazed. Lu Yihan sat up from the sofa, walked towards her and said, "I made spring bamboo shoots, your favorite. Do you remember?" Spring bamboo shoots. She hadn't eaten Lu Yihan's spring bamboo shoots for many years. In the past, when she was poor and had no money to eat, he would always give himself half of his lunch. Later, he simply divided it into 2 portions and brought one for her every day. Lu Yihan was not from a wealthy family and had to rely on himself since he was a child. His life could be said to be very tight. Chapter 529. Thinking of the past, Su Qianxi smiled and nodded. I like it now too. Lu Yihan's eyes were softer, but he did not linger on her. He said ambiguously, it seems that preferences will not change all of a sudden. Ahem. Luo Zhan coughed softly and said, come on, I'm not an outsider, so I won't stand on ceremony. Uncle, auntie, big brother, third brother, let's eat together. Li Jinan smiled. Luo Zhan, I haven't seen you for 2 or 3 years, and you have become more shameless. Well, it is not the first time we have met. Why are you so polite? Luo Zhan's smile made the atmosphere a little more lively. Captain Li also smiled and waved at Su Qianxi. He pointed to the seat next to him and said, Qian, come and sit here. Su Qianxi took Lu Yihan to wash his hands and sat next to Captain Li. Lu Yihan naturally sat next to Luo Zhan. Today's dishes were dazzling. Many of the dishes were her favorites, but Lu Yihan cooked more than just a plate of bamboo shoots. There was also eggplant with garlic sauce, shredded pork with mushrooms, fish head tofu soup. A lot of them, all of which were her favorites. She knew at a glance that these were Lu Yihan's dishes, and they looked completely different from Lu Sa's. She took a sip of the soup, which was very fragrant. The soup was very fresh and white, delicious and sweet. Su Qianxi's eyes were filled with tears, but she quickly shrank them back. She picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece of eggplant. Familiar taste, familiar craftsmanship. But obviously Lu Yihan's cooking was better than before. Delicious. Su Qianxi's voice was a little choked, but she soon smiled. Lu Yihan smiled, looking at her with satisfaction in his eyes. Everyone could see the subtle atmosphere, but no one pointed it out. Su Qianxi's appetite was surprisingly good today. She drank 2 bowls of soup and half a bowl of rice. Although he didn't eat much, it was much better than a few days ago. After dinner, Captain Li invited Lu Yihan to stay for tea. Su Qianxi sat on the sofa in the living room and listened to Lu Yihan talk about some strange adventures. Su Qianxi was not stupid. She could tell that half of it was true, but she still listened with great interest. In addition, Luo Zhan was rudely teasing her, making her laugh from time to time. Her mood suddenly became a lot better. Li Jinan and Li Beixing looked at each other from afar and didn't say a word. Li Xiao and Qin Shuhua also saw it, and a sense of crisis rose in their hearts. They looked behind them at the old man who had made all this happen. The old man sighed. That's it. We can't let Qian stay silent all the time. This kid has a good relationship with Qian. They've known each other for so long. He should be the person who understands her the best. But Xiqing just left. Qin Shuhua burst into tears. Dad, this is so unfair to Xiqing. They didn't dare to raise their voices. They were standing a little far from the living room. Captain Li looked in the direction of Su Qianxi and Lu Yihan and sighed. His voice was a bit sad. Calligraphy and painting, the one who suffers the most is not you but Qian. You still have a husband and a son. Without Xiqing, Qian has nothing. Yes, there was nothing left. What Su Qianxi needed most now was to relax. Otherwise, in the long run, she might not be able to keep the baby in her belly. Chapter 530. About 9 o'clock in the evening, Luo Zhan received a phone call. It was Ming. Where are you? I am at the old house of the Li family. Luo Zhan looked at the time. What's wrong? Don't go yet. Wait for me. Ming quickly hung up the phone. About 10 minutes later, a black Bentley appeared at the door of the Li family's house. Ming was wearing a burgundy suit. He stepped down, holding the tonic specially bought from Australia. He couldn't help feeling nervous. After standing at the door for a long time, he reached out and pressed the doorbell. The door was quickly opened, and the person who opened the door was Li Jinan. When Li Jinan saw Ming, he was shocked. In front of him, Ming had 2 dark circles, bloodshot eyes and a tired face. He looked a little depressed. But his temperament was still extraordinary, like a prince in distress, and there was a bit of guilt in his eyes. Li Jinan was very surprised to see Ming like this and called, Brother So late. Is your sister-in-law here? Yes. Li Jinan opened the door to let him in and walked in. Almost at the same time, 3 pairs of eyes in the living room looked over. When Ming saw Su Qianxi, the guilt in his eyes was even more. He walked over and put the tonics on the coffee table. He called, Sister-in-law. Su Qianxi saw a lot of obviously valuable things and her eyes fell on Ming. She saw that Ming suddenly took a step back and bowed deeply to Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi was shocked, immediately stood up and said, What are you doing? I'm sorry. Ming's voice was full of calmness, but at the same time, there was a strong sense of self-blame. I'm sorry. Luo Zhan and Lu Yihan looked at each other and did not speak. Li Jinan was a little puzzled and asked, "Why are you apologizing?" Li Beixing stood tall and walked over, also puzzled. Ming did not get up, but the voice of guilt and self-blame quickly came out. "That day I called Li Xiqing to my place." Su Qianxi listened and pursed her lips. She thought of Li Xiqing's absent-minded look that day. He said, "Something happened to Ming and I have to go and see." However, after that he never came back. With tears in her eyes, she looked at him and did not speak. "That day, if it weren't for me, sister-in-law wouldn't have been kidnapped by Tang Jinghao, and second brother wouldn't have been in trouble." Ming's voice was a little choked as he said this. "I'm sorry." Luo Zhan's eyes reddened. He stood up and walked over to Ming. He put his hand on Ming's shoulder. Ming had grown up with Li Xiqing, Li Jinan and Li Beixing. But because they were the same age, the two of them had been going to school since kindergarten. Ming and Li Xiqing had grown up together. Luo Zhan had only played with them in high school. These days, because of Li Xiqing, he had been sad for a long time. Even he was like that, let alone Ming. It was not hard to imagine that Li Xiqing's departure was also a big blow to Ming. In the past few days, Ming had visited Su Qianxi in the hospital several times, but she was unconscious. It turned out that Ming wanted to apologize to her in person. Chapter 531. How could unintentional be considered intentional? It was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to defend against a stab in the dark. It was Tang Jinghao who was too despicable and impossible to guard against. It was not Ming's fault, nor was it Li Xiqing's fault. It was her fault. From the beginning she was the variable of all this. If it were not for her, everything would be fine. Li Xiqing would lead the Li family to become a legend, the Tang family would be fine, and Li Xiqing would not be retaliated against. Everything would develop as it had in her previous lifetime. After seeing the three of them off, Su Qianxi went back to her room and fell asleep. She wanted to dream. "Mr. Li, can you come to my dream for a while? I want to see you." Lying in bed, Su Qianxi felt exhausted. Li Xiqing's pale face seemed to appear in her mind. He was lying on the ground, powerless. However, the pair of eyes that were looking at her were as vast as the stars in the sky, so beautiful that it was suffocating. "I love you forever. I love you forever." Life would only be perfect if there were countless regrets pieced together. If one had never been desperate, they would not know how precious today's happiness was. This was the first time Su Qianxi had such a dream. She dreamed that she was standing high in the air, seeing Tang Minjing like a proud peacock, standing next to a small lake a few hundred meters away from the old house, coldly watching the drowning person. After a long time, the person in the water stopped struggling. Tang Minjing sneered and turned around, only to see a tall and straight figure. Li Xiqing looked at her coldly, his face tense. Wearing a dark gray casual coat, his hands in his pockets, he looked at her quietly. Tang Minjing's expression changed dramatically. She hurriedly wanted to explain, but Li Xiqing did not pay attention to her. He slowly stepped into the clear lake. The winter wind was very chilly. Li Xiqing stepped into the lake step by step, took off his coat and then dove in, pulling the drowning woman out. Su Qianxi was soaked in the water, and the horrible fire scar on her face was shocking. Li Xiqing pushed her body to the lake, soaking her. He immediately put her down by the lake and gave her first aid. Tang Minjing watched all this, her face pale. In the end she did not come back to life. He gently closed her eyes and looked at Tang Minjing coldly. Police cars surrounded them and blocked the left and right sides of the road. Li Xiqing's hair was still dripping water, but his eyes were colder than the lake water. He said, "You disappoint me." What happened next? Tang Minjing was sent to prison, Tang Jinghao was found to have close cooperation with the drug trafficking group, and the Tang group completely collapsed. Rong Haiyue was suspected of being involved in drug trafficking and was sentenced to death. The real drug trafficker, Rong Anna, went away with Bo Xiao and continued to sing the song of crime. Li Xiqing, on the other hand, had never married until he was old. Many years later, Li Xiqing was interviewed on a show. The host asked Li Xiqing, who was in his 40s but looked like he was in his early 30s, "Mr. Li, why don't you get married? Everyone thought that you and Miss Tang would get married and then she was sent to prison. What a pity. Is it because of Miss Tang that you are not married now?" Li Xiqing shook his head, looking indifferent and calm. His eyes contained infinite wisdom and depth, as well as the sharpness of more than 40 years of experience. His eyes softened slightly and he said, "I was married when I was 26. My wife's name was Su Qianxi." "What about her? Dad? Do you love her?" Li Xiqing's eyes were deeper, but he did not speak. "Love. Deep love." In another parallel universe, there was another Li Xiqing who loved another Su Qianxi. Very, very much. Give the ending of the previous life. Don't think too much. The male lead did not go back to the previous life, just to give the previous life an ending. Chapter 532. Love. Deep love. In another parallel universe, there was another Li Xiqing who loved another Su Qianxi. Very, very much. The familiar ringtone woke Su Qianxi up from her sleep. When she opened her eyes, it was already dawn. The small alarm clock at the bedside showed 8 a.m. She picked up the phone and saw it was Qingyu. What did Qingyu want? Su Qianxi picked up the phone. Hello? Madam? I know you may be very sad now, but this matter can't be delayed. Can you come to the company at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? The company? Li Xiqing's company. Yes, Li Xiqing was gone, and there was no one to take care of his company. The Li group must be in a mess now, and she actually forgot about this. Sitting up, Su Qianxi listened to her. Yes, since the news of Boss's death came out, the stock market of the Li group has plummeted to an unprecedented low in the past few days. The shareholders are anxious to hold a shareholders' meeting and ask for a new president, but Boss holds 55.3% of the shares. He is gone and you are the first in line. I hope you can come to the company and attend the shareholders' meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Is that okay? Qingyu did not expect that Boss, such a powerful person, would be gone just like that. In the past few days, Qingyu was almost blind from crying. After working for Boss for so many years, to be fair, Li Xiqing not only valued her but also treated her very well. Even when he was not married, Qingyu had a crush on him. After all, the man standing in the clouds was admired and looked up to by everyone. Although she did not have the guts to hook up with him, it was impossible to say that she had no feelings for him. However, life still had to go on and she still had to go to work. In the past few days when Boss was away, she had taken care of a lot of things. After all, Qingyu's reputation in the company was second only to Li Xiqing. However, this was not a long-term plan after all. In just a few days, many shareholders had been desperately trying to elect a new president. Some were even more extreme, saying that Li Xiqing would sell his shares and leave. The Li Group was built by Li Xiqing from nothing, from a small company to the current situation, all because of Li Xiqing's painstaking efforts. In any case, Qingyu could not watch the Li Group collapse. However, no matter how capable she was just an assistant. Okay, I'll be there in the afternoon. I'll wait for you. After hanging up the phone, she came out of the bathroom and saw a few missed calls. The destination was the imperial capital. Was it Rong Haiyue? He seemed to have been seriously injured that day. I wonder how he is now. She called back and it was quickly picked up. After a few seconds of silence, no one spoke first. After a while she said, Qianxi? The voice belonged to Rong Xian. What's up? Rong Xian paused and said, Rong Haiyue was seriously injured. His skin was severely burned, so he did not go to see you. Now he just woke up. She paused and added, he has been in a coma for 4 or 5 days. He had been in a coma for 4 to 5 days due to severe burns. Although Su Qianxi did not have much affection for her biological father, hearing such words, she still felt a little uncomfortable. He wants to see you. Rong Xian's voice was low and sounded uncertain. Chapter 533. How could it be? Rong Haiyue was the last person to see Li Xiqing. Why was Li Xiqing dead and Rong Haiyue still alive? Su Qianxi knew that she should not think like this, but with such a big explosion the chance of survival was very low. How did Rong Haiyue escape? Suddenly feeling that she was very cruel and vicious, Su Qianxi asked, Where are you? Rong Xian heard this question and suddenly became happy, saying, Kingstown First Military Hospital. After a night's rest, Su Qianxi's eyes had become a lot less swollen. She simply put on some light makeup to make her face not look so ugly. When she arrived at the destination, Su Qianxi bought a fruit basket and went into the hospital. They stayed in a high-end single ward. As soon as Su Qianxi entered, she smelled a strong medicine smell. It was very pungent, heavier than any smell in the hospital. Su Qianxi was caught off guard and felt a little nauseous, but soon she suppressed it. Rong Xian saw her and her eyes trembled slightly. She went up to take her fruit basket, with some pity in her eyes and softly said, You are thinner and haggard. Rong Xian was the same. In the past few days Rong Xian had also lost a lot of weight. Was it to take care of Rong Haiyue? Su Qianxi smiled slightly, but did not intend to pay attention to her. Her eyes fell on Rong Haiyue. Rong Haiyue was wrapped in white bandages all over his body, almost like a mummy. Fortunately, there was no large injury on his face, which was still visible. It was just that his eyebrows and eyelashes were all burned, which looked a bit funny and weird. However, a pair of eagle eyes were still sharp, but his spirit was slightly sluggish. It should be because he just woke up. You are here. Su Qinxi nodded and Rong Xian brought her a stool. Sit down. Su Qinxi did not hesitate at all, sat down and thanked her. Rong Haiyue looked at her belly and said, "The child is fine." Su Qinxi subconsciously reached out to touch her belly, smiled slightly and asked, "How did you escape? There was such a big fire, such a big explosion. Didn't you go in to save him? What about him?" Rong Xian heard Su Qinxi's words and felt a little dissatisfied. Rong Haiyue did not speak but looked at her with his eagle eyes. Su Qinxi felt bad but she still couldn't help but pout and ask, "You said you would bring him back to see me. Why did you lie to me? Is it fun to lie to me with him? I'm sorry." Rong Haiyue's voice was a little hoarse and weak. He sounded very weak. "When I went in, he had already been taken away." Her tears stopped and she looked up at him incredulously. "What did you say?" "When I went in, the policeman who had stayed there was killed. He was shot between the eyebrows and dead. Li Xiqing was not there." Su Qinxi's heart, which had been in despair for a few days, was suddenly ignited. Holding her breath, she looked at him nervously. "The policewoman and I chased after them from the back door. I was in front and she was behind, but suddenly there was an explosion. We both flew out together and then I don't know what happened." "You mean he did not die and he was rescued?" She stood up excitedly and looked at him. Chapter 534. Su Qinxi heard this and could not recover for a long time. Her tears flowed freely and her brain was buzzing. Her head was echoing, "He is still alive, he is still alive. Is he really still alive?" After a long while she smiled through her tears. "He is still alive, he is still alive. As long as he did not die in there was still hope for life. Bo Xiao still needed him to do things so he would not die, right? Next, as long as she found Bo Xiao or Rong Anna she could find him, right? However, since they did this they probably want you to think that Li Xiqing is dead. These people have ulterior motives, so it is better to go with the flow and develop according to the results they want." "What do you mean?" "Let the outside world know that Li Xiqing is dead. First let the enemy relax their vigilance and then we secretly find him. This may have a greater chance of success." Su Qinxi heard Rong Haiyue's words and gritted her teeth. "Can I trust you?" Rong Haiyue was slightly dazed and looked at her. "Why do you ask?" "You are Rong Anna's father and it was Rong Anna and her gang who hurt my husband like that. You are Rong Anna's parents. Will you really help me?" Hearing Su Qinxi's words, Rong Haiyue's heart seemed to be stabbed, and he felt hysterical pain. His eyes fell on Rong Xian and his heart was very complicated. Although he knew Rong Anna's background, she was his daughter after all. For so many years Rong Haiyue really loved this girl. However, after knowing Su Qinxi's background, Rong Haiyue felt that he owed this child a lot, and he might not be able to pay it back in this life. Both sides were children and both were daughters. No wonder Su Qinxi would have doubts. Rong Haiyue smiled bitterly and said, "You are also my daughter, Qinxi?" The sound of high heels sounded behind him and Rong Xian walked over to Su Qinxi. With a sincere face she said, "I'm sorry." Rong Xian was wearing a green long-sleeved cheongsam, looking noble and tall. "I'm sorry. I have always known your whereabouts and your movements, but I deliberately did not tell Rong Haiyue." Rong Xian looked indifferent and did not have much expression, so that when such an apology came out of her mouth, Su Qinxi did not feel that she was sincere. "Rong Haiyue doesn't even know of your existence. If he knew, he would definitely find you, take you with him, and give you double the treatment of Rong Anna. It's my fault, I'm sorry." Su Qinxi heard this and curled her lips. She stood up and took her bag from the stool. She said, "Mr. Rong, I will consider the problem you mentioned. Thank you for telling me this." Then she turned around and was about to leave. "Qinxi." Rong Haiyue looked at her, his eyes sad and sad. "I am your father." Su Qinxi paused, her eyes slightly dim. "You are also Rong Anna's father, aren't you?" Rong Haiyue was speechless. Looking at her back, his heart was filled with grief. "She is the daughter that you have raised for more than 20 years. If you can only choose between me and her, you will definitely choose her, right? Rong Anna's gang had hurt her man like that. Did she want her to be her sister?" Chapter 535. "No," Rong Xian suddenly said. Su Qinxi stopped and did not look back. "If I can only choose one, I will choose you." Rong Xian's voice was calm with a hint of guilt. Rong Anna is a tool I deliberately used to retaliate against Rong Haiwe, but for you, you should know Su Han, right? Su Han, Su Chenxi's nominal mother. Of course she knew. Back then Su Han was kidnapped and sold to the Shirwan Mountains. I was the one who saved her. She was married to an old man in his 70s and gave birth to a daughter. Not long after giving birth, she stopped our car that was about to go to the station in the wilderness. Rong Xian slowly walked up to Su Chenxi and looked at her. At that time I represented the capital art troupe to teach in Shirwan Mountain. I was pregnant for more than 9 months and was about to give birth. I was going back to the capital to give birth the next day, but I met Su Han. Shirwan Mountain, the legendary place where Rong Xian's body was found. Su Han was a very poor woman. When she ran into us, she asked us to send her back to Kingstown and handed the child to me, telling me her identity and her background. That child is Rong Anna? No, that child was found by her father, but Su Han's body was left in the wilderness by him. At that time, I originally wanted to throw you away after you were born, but I couldn't bear to do that, so I decided to beat you at your own game. I made up your identity as Su Han's daughter, and I was the one who gave you your name. Rong Xian suddenly curled her lips and looked at Su Chenxi's face. You really look like me, Chenxi. Su Chenxi looked at her, frowned deeply, and did not speak. Later I accidentally saved the old leader of the Li family. The Rong family and the Li family have always had an inexplicable hostile relationship. So, if I wanted revenge, I would do it thoroughly. I used my own life to threaten Li Sun to let his best grandson marry my daughter. I told him that my name was Su Han, and my daughter was Su Chenxi. I was the sister of Su Zhenghua in Kingstown. Su Zhenghua checked my DNA and knew that I was not his sister's daughter. No one will abandon the Li family. Su Zhenghua is not stupid. Didn't he get you back? I even let you be a rich young lady for 2 years. Have you forgotten? Su Chenxi pursed her lips and looked at Rong Xian, feeling a bit cold. This woman was too scary. There was no big expression on Rong Xian's face. Looking at Su Chenxi, her eyes were full of pity and compassion. I hated your father at that time very, very much. I wanted to strangle him when he was sleeping, but I didn't. I might as well take my revenge on his daughter. I thought that I would have the pleasure of revenge, but I didn't. Rong Xian reached out to Su Chenxi and seemed to want to touch her, but Su Chenxi took a step back and avoided her hand. Chapter 536. Why should she make him happy? Rong Haiwe was a criminal, the devil who raped her. She did not want to be with him at all. He forced her to sleep with him, forced her to get pregnant, and forced her to have a child. Seeing him raising someone else's child, raising that bastard, I felt indescribably comfortable. Rong Xian took a deep breath and took back her tears. Later, he found that I often went to Kingstown, and I noticed that he was following me. Since then, I did not dare to go to the orphanage, but every year I still sent money to you to buy you some clothes and some fresh toys. Yes, she remembered. The children in the orphanage were very envious of her. Even the dean said that Su Chenxi was a special child. Ah, she was indeed unique. Rong Haiwe listened in the hospital bed, looking at the ceiling and never saying a word. His sharp eagle eyes were covered with a layer of mist, and in the emptiness, there was resentment. But Rong Anna, I have never regarded her as my own daughter. I only have one daughter. Chenxi, I am your mother. At the end of the sentence, the word mother was already with a strong crying tone. Rong Xian's tears fell, but they were quickly wiped away and covered again. You can blame me or hate me, I admit it, but this is all caused by me. Rong Haiwe does not know anything. If you are angry, take it out on me. Rong Haiwe saved your life. He was shot in the arm and almost died due to excessive blood loss. This time, in order to save you and your husband, he was blown up like this, and his body has been severely burned. Is it not enough? Was it not enough? Was it enough? Was it not enough? Su Chenxi's mind was now a mess. Looking at Rong Xian's tears, her eyes were strangely dry. It was just that his heart felt like it was being hammered by an awl, causing a dull pain. Su Chenxi did not want to listen anymore. She stepped away and walked directly to the door of the ward. Chenxi, Rong Xian called again, but this time Su Chenxi did not stop. No matter what happened in the past, Mom and Dad will not hurt you. The bodyguard Shuangyu had always been guarding the door. Seeing her coming out, she immediately followed. Su Chenxi walked faster, and soon after she walked out of the corridor, she heard the roar behind her again. Remember to come back when you think it through. We will wait for you. We'll wait for you. Hearing these words, Su Chenxi finally couldn't help it, and her eyes became misty again. Pressing the button on the elevator, she walked in with her head down, not wanting others to see her strangeness. When Yang saw her coming out of the hospital, he drove the car to the roadside and let her get on the car with Shuangyu. In the car she called Li Jinan. Li Jinan seemed to be busy. It took him a long time to answer the phone. When he picked it up he was a little out of breath. Hello, second sister-in-law? Uncle, are you busy? I'm fighting against Big Brother. Phew, I haven't trained in a long time. Are you free in the afternoon? Come to the company. The shareholders' meeting will be held at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Also, I have something important to tell you. Me? Second Brother's company? Yes, I want you to take over the Lee Group. Wow, that won't do. I've never tried doing business before. You can do it. Li Jinan was very smart and capable. In his previous life he had started an entertainment company with Li Xiqing for fun, and it was also very successful. Hearing that, Li Jinan panted harder and said, "Okay, see you in the afternoon." Chapter 537. Yes. Li Jinan shouted, "Brother, sister-in-law is looking for you." Li Beixing also came quickly, and his breath was obviously much calmer than Li Jinan's. "Sister-in-law, are you looking for me?" "Brother, you are right. If he is alive I want to see him. If he is dead I want to see his body." Li Beixing heard the words, raised an eyebrow, took a sip of mineral water and waited for her to continue. "I will tell you in the evening. Goodbye, brother." Li Beixing was speechless. Wasn't this a joke? After arousing his curiosity she did not say anything. She was simply a hooligan. Li Beixing did not know whether to laugh or cry, but when he heard Su Qianxi's obviously relaxed tone, he also relaxed a lot. When she arrived at the company, Su Qianxi had already fixed her makeup. When she took the VIP elevator to the president's office on the top floor, it was exactly 12 o'clock at noon. Qingyu was very busy. Seeing that the VIP elevator actually stopped, she was shocked, and then there was anger on her face. Who was so bold and dared to go in the elevator for the boss? The elevator door opened and Qingyu was about to lose her temper. After seeing Su Qianxi and Shuangyu, her anger suddenly disappeared. "Madam?" All the people in the secretary's office looked over and shouted in unison, "Hello, madam. Just call me Su Qianxi." Su Qianxi smiled. "Have you all eaten? If you haven't eaten yet, let's go eat together. I'm also hungry." Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They were obviously overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. Qingyu looked at her watch and nodded. "Okay, everyone go eat. The restaurant should be ready. Let the kitchen help me bring it up. I want, Assistant Qing, come with us. I have something to tell you." Qingyu was a little surprised, glanced at the work progress in her hand and nodded. "Okay, let's go." It was the first time that Su Qianxi came to the staff cafeteria of the Li Group. As soon as she entered, she was surrounded by a lot of people. Su Qianxi followed Qingyu to the CEO's private room and asked about Su Qianxi's hobbies. After telling the kitchen to make a few dishes, Qingyu turned around and sat down. "Qingyu, if Li Xiqing is still alive." Qingyu heard the words, pursed her lips sadly, looked at her with some sympathy and immediately changed the topic. "How old is the child?" Su Qianxi was dazed. 18 weeks. What's wrong? It's really twins. What a big belly. I'm so envious. Qingyu smiled. You can get two at once. It's amazing. Yes, he hopes it's a boy and a girl. A few days ago the doctor told us that it's fraternal twins with 2 placentas. The placentas are a bit forward but the babies are very healthy. She smiled. When he comes back I guess he can really see 2 children, a boy and a girl. The boy looks like him and the girl looks like me. Then life will be perfect. Su Qianxi was laughing but Cheng was Cheng Xiqing. Xiqing you. Xiqing Ching Ching Qianxi Xiqing, Su, for Su for Su. Xiqing, Xiqing Shi, Xiqing Su Xiqing Su is Li Xiqing and Su. I Su. I Li I and I. Li He I Ching Li. 4. Chapter 538. Why couldn't she accept the fact? After such a big explosion the chance of surviving was almost zero. Moreover, she heard that before the big explosion, he had been beaten to multiple fractures, and it was impossible for him to escape. In that case, how could he still be alive? How was it possible? Cheng Yu's heart was sour, and her sympathy for Su Qianxi surged uncontrollably. She was still so young and she was still pregnant with 2 children. How could she live in the future? Was she going to be a widow like this? She was only 21 years old. The age of a flower, the age of a flower. Thinking of this, Cheng Yu cried even louder and said, Madam, accept the reality. He will not come back. He is dead. In that case, even if he was not killed by the explosion, he would be burned to death. Cheng Yu. Su Qianxi's voice was a bit annoyed, and her beautiful eyes were filled with unspeakable anger. Don't curse him. He is not dead. Didn't you find the body? If he is alive, I want to see him. If he is dead, I want to see his body. Moreover, Rong Haiyue saw with his own eyes that Li Xiqing was rescued, didn't he? Li Xiqing was not inside, and even Rong Haiyue escaped. What reason did Li Xiqing have to die? Rong Haiyue's words in the hospital suddenly echoed in her mind. These people have ulterior motives. It is better to go with the flow and develop according to the results they want. Su Qianxi originally wanted to tell Cheng Yu what Rong Haiyue had just told her. But at this moment she did not want to say what she wanted to say. Cheng Yu thought that she was not willing to accept the fact, so why not go with the flow? Although Cheng Yu had been with Li Xiqing for many years, her relationship with Rong Rue was not ordinary. What if Rong Rue also had a connection with the drug gang? Thinking of this, Su Qianxi's face became extremely firm. Looking at Cheng Yu, she said, he will not die. One day he will come back. Cheng Yu pursed her lips and picked up a tissue to wipe her tears. Su Qianxi's eyes were slightly red, and her voice softened. He will come back to see me and the children. He has not named the children yet. How can he die? He will not die. When the dishes were served, the chef heard Su Qianxi's words. As a man, he couldn't help feeling sad. Putting down the food, he opened the door and went out. As soon as he returned to the kitchen, he told his colleagues about it. The thing that spreads the fastest in the world is not the source of fire, but the rumor. Within a few hours, almost everyone in the company knew that Su Qianxi was unwilling to accept the news of her husband's death. All of a sudden, she became a synonym for stubbornness and stubbornness. After the meal, Cheng Yu did not speak again. As soon as they went upstairs, Su Qianxi asked Li Xiqing to bring her all the urgent documents that needed to be dealt with. Su Qianxi sat in the seat where Li Xiqing usually sat and quickly read the documents. However, as he stared at the documents, he couldn't help but recall the time when he was sitting here. She looked at the small bed that she had been lying on. From this angle she could see the small bed and the table. Mrs. Li, mind your image. There's no one else around. This position is comfortable. It seems like you want to try. Pervert. Thinking of the past, Su Qianxi smiled, got up, walked over and closed the door. Then she focused on the things in her hand. Although she had not touched this kind of thing for more than a year, some simple and basic things were not difficult for her. Chapter 539. The person who wrote the plan, Lu Changqing. Su Qianxi was very impressed by this person's name. In her previous lifetime, Li Xiqing seemed to value this person very much. As far as she heard, Lu Changqing was a decent person who loved his wife and children. However, because he was too simple and honest, unwilling to curry favor with those in power, and did not know how to flatter others, his popularity in the company was very poor. He was also a veteran employee of the Li Group, but in the past 4 or 5 years, his position had not been promoted much. In her previous lifetime, because of a land development case, he was criticized and suppressed by the shareholders, but that plan was accepted by Li Xiqing, and he was promoted to project director. The whole project, under his strict supervision, achieved great success, and became an important push to push the Li Group to a new peak. This person now, she dialed the internal line and called a secretary in. The secretary saw that Su Qianxi was looking at the material seriously, and she felt a little disdainful. Even though he tried his best to hide it, he still couldn't hide it from his eyes. Su Qianxi understood her thoughts very well, and did not mind directly asking her about Lu Changqing. Sure enough, it was not much different from what she remembered. His position was the director of the development department. Help me call him in. Okay. The secretary closed the door and went out. Soon a man who looked a little fat came in. He seemed to be in his early 30s and looked honest. When he saw Su Qianxi, his eyes were full of amazement and unconcealed uneasiness. Madam, what can I do for you? Lu Changqing's face was a little red and he lowered his head, not daring to look at her. Did you write this proposal? Su Qianxi put the proposal on the table and asked. Lu Changqing came forward, turned a few pages and nodded with a red face. There are so many pieces of land in the Xiangxianu town, but you chose this one. This land is not only occupied by a large number of people who refuse to move, but also because of the European style, the price has been artificially high. Why do you think of bidding for this piece of land? Lu Changqing heard this question and was a little nervous. He scratched his head and stuttered, it's okay. I'm very interested in your project. Tell me what you think. Lu Changqing blushed and muttered, I think this may be an opportunity. The European-style entertainment club is here, but because of land restrictions there are many things in it that are not perfect. I think we can. Perhaps because Su Qianxi was staring at him, Lu Changqing's voice was not very fluent. Su Qianxi looked down at the other files in her hand and listened. Sure enough, after Lu Changqing noticed that she was no longer staring at him, his voice became smoother and faster. In the end, Lu Changqing was still a little excited. His voice became louder and louder as he said, I think my plan is very feasible. According to the investigation and calculation. His voice was powerful and confident. It was completely different from when he first came in. After talking for about 10 minutes, Lu Changqing excitedly put his hands on the edge of the desk and asked, What do you think? After listening to his words, she glanced at the time. It was already 1:50. There were still 10 minutes before the shareholders' meeting. Chapter 540. Hearing that, Lu Changqing was a little unconvinced. He took his hand off the edge of the desk but did not speak. Su Qianxi knew that what she said had no weight. If it was him who said this at the moment, then he would definitely have nothing to say. Tapping on the table with a pen, Su Qianxi's voice was gentle, and she looked at him calmly. The secretary came in to give Su Qianxi a glass of juice and happened to hear her words. She pouted disdainfully, put down the juice and quietly walked out. Closing the door, the secretary quickly walked back to the secretary's office. As soon as she went in and saw that Cheng Yu was not there, she began to complain. Does she really think that because the boss is dead, she is the female president? I just saw what she said to Lu Changqing and she even said, not perfect enough. Come on, this is not the way to pretend, okay? Another secretary was looking at the computer and helping Cheng Yu. Hearing this, she looked up, adjusted her glasses and said, No way, she really wants to take over the Li group? It seems so. A lot of information is in front of her and it looks quite good. However, I don't know how good it is. This is hard to say. The big boss is so powerful. There is no reason that his wife does not know anything, right? Gee, when the big boss was still alive, how many times did she come here? Every time she comes, she is so delicate. She needs to be held by the big boss, as if she is afraid that others do not know that they have a good relationship. And the big boss is such a chauvinist. It is impossible for him to let his woman intervene in his career. Wow, this is too shocking. Could it be that this woman deliberately killed Big Boss just to get the company? Wow, this is too shocking. No way, so cruel? I don't think it is possible. He is the father of the children. You see, her belly is only 4 months old and it looks like it is 5 or 6 months old. Twins. This is hard to say. I don't think she is a newbie. Could it be that she has been planning for a long time? No, she is also a finance major. It is normal to know a little. Let me tell you, peng peng, a loud knocking sound rang out. Everyone was startled and hurriedly walked back to their respective rooms. Cheng Yu stood at the door with a sullen face and flew into a rage. You have nothing to do, right? You have so much time to gossip behind other people's backs. Looks like your work schedule is too little. Everyone shrunk their necks, not daring to speak. She angrily assigned the work and quickly left in her high heels. The secretaries looked at each other and stuck out their tongues. Someone said, I'll go and see how she's doing. Go. Remember to come back for gossip. All right. The secretary opened the door and walked out. Coincidentally, he bumped into Lu Changqing, who was walking out with his development plan. The expression on his face was indescribably dignified. Lu Changqing did not notice that he was being stared at. He blankly returned to the chair for a few minutes. After digesting what Su Qianxi had just said, he suddenly smiled. No wonder you are Li Xiqing's wife. Amazing. The shareholders' meeting began on time. When Su Qianxi came in, everyone was already there. Seeing Su Qianxi, many people felt bored. Li Jinan followed Su Qianxi in, looked around at the shareholders and raised an eyebrow. Chapter 541. That's right. When President Li was here, he did not dare to let us wait for so long. But you, a new boss, want to make changes? Or you don't want to come to this meeting at all? In that case, you don't have to force yourself. Anyway, Li Xiqing was dead and the company was just an empty shell. What kind of waves could a woman do? It was better for everyone to transfer their shares together. While the Li Corporation was still valuable, they could exchange some money to invest in other things. Otherwise, they would lose money instead of making money. It was not only 1 or 2 people who had this idea. The company had not been established for a long time, and there were 8 shareholders in total. Some were partners who worked with Li Xiqing in the past, and some were older shareholders who later invested. Most of the people who were talking were old men about the same age as Li Xiao. On the contrary, some young people just looked at Su Qianxi and remained silent. Su Qianxi looked at her watch and said, "If I remember correctly, the shareholders' meeting should be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It has been 2 minutes since I came in and listened to your accusations. Now it is 14:01. That is to say, I came in at 13:59. Am I late?" "No," said a young man sitting in the front. He looked about 30 years old and he was very capable. Fang Qin, one of the largest shareholders of the company, had followed Li Xiqing from the beginning. "Well, President Li will arrive 3 minutes earlier." "So I am not late. What makes you say that?" Su Qianxi sat down in the chairman's seat. "My husband's habits are not my habits. You used to be used to my husband's habits, so in the future, you will have to get used to my habits." An older man sneered, "You mean you want to be the president of the company? Are you kidding me? How can a woman be the decision-maker of the company? Such a big company, don't let it fall in your hands." "Well, if that's the case, we have nothing to say. The largest share is in your hands. When your husband died, the entire company is in your hands. Isn't it still up to you?" Su Qianxi listened to these words with a cold face and sneered, "Yes, my husband is gone and I have the final say. But my husband is not dead. Please don't curse him. He just left temporarily. It won't be long before he comes back to take over the Li Corporation. But before that, I am the highest decision-maker here." Hearing this, the surrounding people fell silent. Indeed, Li Xiqing's death was hard to accept. Everyone looked at Su Qianxi with some sympathy. "I now have a plan for the land bidding. According to my observation and calculation, I think it is very feasible. The preliminary plan has come out, and the specifics need to be improved." She asked Qingyu to send the copy of the plan to someone else. All the shareholders were frowning as they watched. All the shareholders were. Obviously, they were not optimistic about this project. This was completely within Su Qianxi's expectations. Telling them her thoughts and plans, she observed their reactions one by one. Chapter 542. Su Qianxi looked at him. She seemed to have seen this person before. When the Li Group was losing money, this person donated money and ran away. Later, he was caught and suffered from Li Xiqing's brutal revenge. He spent a lifetime in prison. She used to think that Li Xiqing was too tough. Now thinking about it, her original idea was ridiculous. "Qingyu." "Yes." "How many shares does this gentleman have?" 8, 9%. "Who else wants me to buy back the shares?" Qingyu stared at Su Qianxi. No way she really wanted to buy back the shares? That would be a huge expense. Recently, the stock market of the Li Group had plummeted, and they had lost a lot of money. If these shares were bought back, it would cost so much money. The Li Group, Mrs. Li, this? But before Qingyu finished, someone said directly, "Although I still have feelings for the Li Group, I am not very optimistic. I will quit." Qingyu, register how many shares does he have? 3, 8%. Me too, another man said. 9, 7%. Su Qianxi looked at them and said, "Okay, then I will buy back your shares at the market price, but I hope you think about it clearly. In the future, whether the Li Group succeeds or fails, it has nothing to do with you anymore." Seeing that she really wanted to buy back the shares, Qingyu panicked and shouted, "Mrs. Li, this is not good. Our company can't afford so much money. I can take out my husband's private property, but these people will not be accepted by the Li Group in the future. When the Li Group was glorious, they were there. When Li Xiqing had an accident, they ran away one by one. Such ungrateful people, we don't need them." Su Qianxi's voice was flat, but what she said went straight to the hearts of those people. That's right, isn't he an ingrate? However, the Li Group was built by Li Xiqing, and they had no right to touch the position of CEO. If they did not quit at this time, they would just wait for death. Despite what Su Qianxi said, they still did not change their minds. Seeing their determination, Su Qianxi said disappointedly, "Contact a lawyer and draft a share transfer agreement, Qingyu." Su Qianxi knew that it was obviously irrational for her to do this kind of thing at this time. However, the next project, she knew that it would definitely bring the Li Group back to life. Why did she have to take advantage of them? Su Qianxi did not explain to Qingyu, but drove away those who were about to quit and discussed the development of the new project with the remaining 5 shareholders. "I'm not optimistic about this project, but I won't quit," Fang Qin said. "Mrs. Li, why did you choose this piece of land? The initial investment is very huge. If it was the Li Corporation in the past, this project would not be a problem at all, but you've seen the Li Corporation's recent situation. If this project is implemented, it will undoubtedly make things worse. She pursed her lips and shook her head. Do you know why I chose this place? Here is the land I am going to bid for. This is a European-style leisure club. Because of the scope limitation, there are many things in the European-style club that are not perfect. We can take advantage of this loophole. Moreover, this place is bordered by the Kingstown River in the east and Guang City in the west. Chapter 543. His mouth was dry, and Cheng Yu handed him a glass of water and listened attentively. Li Jinan, who had never been in contact with the company, was confused. At the same time he admired Su Qianxi. 3 days later, Su Qianxi asked Lu Changqing to make a PowerPoint presentation of the complete plan. During the meeting, the pros and cons of the project and the investment calculation were all explained. Su Qianxi appointed herself as the president of the company and appointed Lu Changqing as the project director. He was fully responsible for the project and let Li Jinan also learn in the company. Sure enough, Lu Changqing's ability and effectiveness were far beyond everyone's expectations. In just 2 months, all the original residents had been cleared, and the project had begun. Su Qianxi was very busy during this time, and her belly was getting bigger and bigger. Pregnant with twins, Su Qianxi was already unable to walk when she was 8 months pregnant. She simply waited at home for delivery. Many things that Li Jinan or Cheng Yu could handle were handled on the spot. If they could not handle it, it would fall into Su Qianxi's hands. Su Qianxi used to work with Li Xiqing for a while, and she had the ability to predict many things that others did not have. The company had been steadily rising. Because it was a bit inconvenient to move, Su Qianxi asked Shuangyu to continue to protect her, and Captain Li also called Nanny Rong over to take care of her. Li Beixing rarely came home, and the first thing he did when he came back was to find Su Qianxi. When Su Qianxi opened the door, Li Beixing looked dignified and seemed to be a bit hesitant. Looking at her, he said, "There is news of Xiqing." Hearing these words, Su Qianxi was stunned, then held his hand and was pleasantly surprised. Really? Where is he? How is he doing? Is the injury better? Why hasn't he come back yet? A series of questions made Li Beixing's heart uncomfortable. He handed the information in his hand to her and said, "You should be mentally prepared. Xiqing's injury was very serious. He once went to the 3rd hospital of Kingstown for treatment, but this person is only suspected. There is no direct evidence to prove that this person is Xiqing." Su Qianxi took the information and saw a color photo at a glance. The person in the photo was sitting in a wheelchair with only a pair of eyes exposed. His body was wrapped in bandages, so his figure and face could not be seen clearly. The time when this person was admitted to the hospital coincided with the time when Xiqing disappeared. They seemed to be about the same age. However, at that time he was treated as a nameless patient. A secret person had been paying for his medical expenses, but he never showed up. Su Qianxi looked at the photo for a long time. After staying in the hospital for more than a month, he was discharged on his own when his body was slightly better. Since he had already paid the medical fees, the hospital did not detain him. I ordered people to check the surrounding surveillance cameras, but they could not find any. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. Her face became paler and paler. He placed his hand on his stomach and furrowed his brows. Li Beixing looked at her and continued, "I don't think it's Li Xiqing. If it's really him, he will come back by himself. So far, this is the only one that matches him. I am still investigating his background and whereabouts, but I am sure that Li Xiqing is still alive." Su Qianxi frowned, held the door frame and said, "Brother, my stomach hurts." Chapter 544. The previous chapter has been revised. You can read it again to make up for your regrets. The fetus was only 8 months old, and Su Qianxi had already been sent to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, her water had broken. Su Qianxi kept thinking about what Li Beixing had just said. Li Xiqing must be alive. Yes, he must be alive. But why did he leave? Why did he not come back to see her? Even if he did not see her, it would be good to see the baby. She was about to give birth. Could he know? Su Qianxi's eyes were full of tears, and the pain from her lower abdomen made her feel extremely uncomfortable. There was a lot of noise around, and Su Qianxi's mind was blank. She did not know when she had entered the delivery room or what had happened around her. When the dazzling incandescent light shone down, Su Qianxi seemed to see the face she had been thinking about day and night. Li Xiqing was in front of her, smiling softly at her. His eyes were full of love and pride. He said, "Amazing, my wife is amazing." She chuckled and tears flowed down from her eyes. She reached out and wanted to touch his face, but when she reached out, the face suddenly disappeared. Su Qianxi's lips suddenly turned down. Her eyes were blurred and she closed them. Li Xiqing, where are you? I miss you so much. It was difficult to give birth to twins naturally, so Su Qianxi had a C-section. A boy and a girl, and the whole family was overjoyed. The boy came out a little earlier than the girl, so he was honored to be the elder brother. However, because of the premature birth, both babies were put in the incubator. Captain Li looked at the rows of little babies inside and could find the name of Su Qianxi at a glance. He was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. The names of the babies, after thinking about it again and again, Captain Li wrote, Li Jianxian, Li Jianyue. And the nicknames, Su Qianxi directly said the names that Li Xiqing did not know if he was serious or joking. Desu Ursu. Although many people complained that it sounded bad, it was Li Xiqing who named it, wasn't it? After lying in the hospital for a few days, Su Qianxi quickly moved back to the old house for confinement. Lu Yihan had upgraded from a male best friend to a male cook. Almost every day he would come to the old house to cook for Su Qianxi. As for Li Jinan, he always had a bunch of things that he couldn't understand and would come running into her room to ask all sorts of questions. She answered with a smile, looked at him and said, "Brother-in-law." Li Jinan bit his pen. He was suddenly yelled at. He looked up in a daze. "What's wrong? When I'm done with my confinement, teach me how to fight." "You want to learn?" "Yes, and shooting." "Why are you learning this?" "It's illegal," Li Jinan said with a straight face. "Self-defense. This way I can protect myself. In the future, I might even be able to protect my child." She smiled and looked at him, bowed her head slightly and said, "Maybe when he comes back I can proudly say to him, 'Look, I can live well without you.'" Li Jinan stared at her for a long time and nodded his head helplessly. "All right, we'll talk about it when you're out of confinement." After Li Jinan left, Nanny Rong came back with the baby to feed. Su Qianxi was too thin and did not have much milk, so she had to mix it with milk powder. Su Qianxi held Ursu in her arms and watched her little hand constantly sucking on Ursu's neck. A smile slowly spread across her lips. Chapter 545. After feeding the baby and putting the baby to sleep, Su Qianxi was very energetic. Picking up her phone, she suddenly found that the chat software that no one had contacted for hundreds of years suddenly sent a message, frowny face L. A boy and a girl. Congratulations. L, the stranger who added her but never chatted with her. A few words were the first words he said to her. She also replied with 2 words, "Thank you." However, there was no response. The Xiangxia New Town project was completed in the 38th month. Because of the unique design and interior features, it became one of the landmarks of Kingstown. In the 3rd year, it was officially opened, taking the expensive high-end route. In less than a year, the profit was already very considerable. In the past 4 years, Lu Changqing admired that woman more and more. In other words, everyone in the company admired her. In the Li group, the employees came and went, but she was always there. But half a month ago, her belly was too big to walk, so she directly asked for leave to wait at home for delivery. Kingstown Second Hospital. Rong Rue pestered the doctor for a long time before the doctor was willing to let him in. As soon as he entered, he heard Qing Yu's miserable cry. He immediately ran over and held her hand. As soon as she saw him, she cried out, "Honey, it hurts." Rong Rue was also in pain. Holding her hand, Rong Rue kissed her hand and said, "Don't talk, focus on the birth and it will be fine after the birth." She gritted her teeth and cried hard. "I will never give birth again. It's so king painful." "Good girl, don't cry, give birth. After this we won't give birth again." Rong Rue touched her face, his face full of distress. "I won't give birth again." It turns out that giving birth is really so painful. Although this was not the first time he saw a woman give birth. However, the first time was when he saw Tang Menjing. At that time he was discouraged and did not feel anything at all. But this time, because it was Qing Yu, Rong Rue felt heartache. Seeing her pale face, he wished he could replace her and help her. After a long time, Qing Yu cried until she had no strength and became a lot more obedient. Fortunately, the heavens were extremely kind to him. Natural birth, mother and daughter were safe. When Rong Rue saw the child, he smiled happily. However, he did not pay attention to the child, but held her hand and stayed with her. She didn't know how long she had slept. When she opened her eyes, she saw him. Rong Rue's eyes were covered with a layer of tears. He looked at her and said in a low voice, "Amazing. She gave birth to a little princess." Seeing him like this, she also laughed out loud. "Where is the baby?" I don't know. The nurse took him away. What kind of father are you? You don't even know where the child is. I want to be a husband and then a father. Rong Rui touched her face. Are you tired? Of course. Qing Yu pouted and suddenly burst into tears. I'm so tired. Rong Rui panicked when he saw her crying. Why are you crying? You can't cry after giving birth. It's bad for your eyes. I just feel sad. You know, when I saw you coming, I felt so happy, Rong Rui. She sobbed. I still have my husband by my side. I felt the pain at the time, but I was really not afraid at all, but, sob. Rong Rui couldn't help laughing. He was so touched that he wiped her tears and said, silly, but how did Susu get through it? When she gave birth to 2 children, it was a cesarean section. She must be very scared, but there was no one around her to accompany her to give birth. She didn't even have someone to cry to. Thinking about it, it's really... She cried again and pursed her lips. It's really pitiful. Chapter 546. Rong Rui was silent. Thinking of Su Qianxi, his heart was a bit complicated. For this cousin, Rong Rui always felt guilty for her. Back then, he had helped Tang Menjing do those terrible things, which was why he had ended up like this today. Rong Rui contributed to all of this. Over the years, he had been trying to make up for it, running up and down with Qing Yu to help the Li group, and was very busy every day. But every time he saw her standing alone in the office, he felt distressed. She was actually just a woman. Suddenly, Qing Yu tugged at him, blinked, and said pitifully, I'm hungry. Rong Rui smiled. I'm going to buy you something to eat. Wait for me. Okay. As soon as Rong Rui went out, the nurse came in with a crying baby. Qing Yu was a bit stunned. When she saw the child, she sat up. The baby was red, wrinkled, and small. Qing Yu carefully took it, but the little thing cried even harder. Don't cry. Qing Yu held the baby carefully, but the baby's little face was red and wrinkled. Next time it was Qing Yu's turn to cry. Why does she keep crying? Is she hungry? The nurse chuckled. Maybe. Just give her some milk. Qing Yu put the little guy on her lap, holding him with one hand and lifting up her clothes with the other. Seeing the nurse staring at her, she blushed and said, Well, can you close the door? The nurse snickered, and Qing Yu lifted her clothes and stuffed it into the baby's mouth. As soon as the baby was sucked in, she stopped crying and calmed down, but soon began to cry loudly again. Why is there no milk? Isn't there milk after the baby is born? Qing Yu rubbed and heard the baby crying so hard, and she was very anxious. It's normal. You can let the baby suck for a while. Thank you. Qing Yu felt a little bitter. Seeing the nurse close the door and went out, she let go and rubbed it. She pressed hard with her hand and only a little came out. She was happy and stuffed the baby in, but the baby only took a few sips and cried again. She was also anxious to cry. Looking at the phone next to her, she was about to call him back. Just then, someone knocked on the door of the ward and a slender and tall figure walked in. It was very hot outside. Su Qianxi was wearing a thin pink sleeveless dress. Her long curly hair was combed into a ponytail. She did not have any makeup on her face, but her facial features were still exquisite and eye-catching. Seeing her, Qing Yu immediately seemed to see a savior and shouted, Susu, it's great that you are here. I can't milk and the baby keeps crying. What should I do? Shuang Yu followed behind Su Qianxi. Hearing this, she put down the packed tonic and held a breast pump in the other hand. It's been sterilized. I knew you wouldn't be able to produce milk. Come, let me hug you. Su Qianxi took the child and gently shook her. So cute. She will definitely be a beauty in the future. Shuang Yu took out the breast pump and handed it to her. She was touched but soon looked up. How do you know it is a girl? Chapter 547. Okay, she reluctantly accepted this explanation. Qing Yu put the breast pump on her chest and the milk came out. She breathed a sigh of relief. Soon, half a bottle was filled and Su Qianxi gently fed it to the baby. The little thing finally stopped crying, blushing and clenching her fist, sucking hard. Didn't your parents say they were coming? Where's Rong Rui? Where did they go? You are the only one left. They haven't arrived yet. My water broke in the middle of the night last night. Rong Rui has called them. Rong Rui went to buy food for me and has not come back yet. Qing Yu felt that Su Qianxi was a timely rain. Seeing that the half bottle of milk was about to be drunk by the little thing, Qing Yu secretly clicked her tongue and said, This little thing can eat so much. Su Qianxi smiled. Children drink more to prove that they are healthy. Get some more. After pulling out the bottle, the baby whimpered, but he didn't cry out. He swung his little arms and his eyes were half open. He looked so soft and cute. Su Qianxi teased the little thing and said, "You can be my Daisu's wife in the future. You look so good. Your Daisu has very high standards." Some time ago, I asked him what type of girl he likes and if he has a crush on a little girl in kindergarten. Guess what he said? What? Speaking of her son, Su Qianxi could not hide the smile on her face and looked up at her. Before Qingyu said anything, she smiled first. He said, "What little girl? Ursu is already annoying enough. If you want to find a girl, find a woman like your mother." Hearing that, Shuangyu also laughed. When Su Qianxi was about to say something, the door of the ward was opened. Rong Rue came in with a delicate cardboard box and was a little surprised to see Su Qianxi. "Why are you here? Are you not busy today?" "I'm busy. I left it to my uncle and am going to pick up the child from school." Looking at her watch, she said, "Well, it's almost time. I have to pick up the child. You can have the baby back." Rong Rue carefully took it. The little thing was soft. Holding it in his hand, he couldn't help feeling nervous for fear of dropping it. However, he couldn't hide the smile on his face. He looked a little silly. Seeing him like this, she subconsciously thought of his expression when he found out that she was pregnant with twins. His expression was still vivid in her mind. Just like a fool. Her eyes narrowed slightly and there was envy in her eyes. She waved at Qingyu. "Let's go. Be careful." Little Sun Kindergarten. In the colorful little park there were children running around. 3 to 5 little girls around 3 to 4 years old gathered together, patting the sand in the sandbox. One of them was wearing a pink princess fluffy gauze dress, sitting in the sand pool with a pair of fleshy legs. Her face was stained with sand and she looked fair and tender. She had a pair of big almond-shaped eyes, long and thick eyelashes, a small pink face and full and beautiful lips. Her hair was combed into a ponytail and some light hair ran out. When the wind blew, it swayed gently. At this moment she was holding a small spoon and a doll. She said softly and with motherly love, "Come, mommy will feed you." Ah! The young teacher came over and shouted, "Li Jianqian, Li Jianyue, someone is coming to pick you up." Chapter 548. Li Jianyue cheered excitedly, stood up, patted the sand on her body, and ran to the little boy next to the tree. The little boy had delicate eyebrows and eyes. His black hair was slightly curly, but only the end of the hair was slightly curled. His skin was very white and on his little face there was no blemish at all. He was wearing a royal blue short-sleeved sportswear, a typical t-shirt and shorts, which made him look clean and handsome. Li Jianqian was holding a Robinson Crusoe book and reading it. From time to time, he turned his head to look at his sister, who made him cause trouble for nothing, for fear that she would run away. At this moment, hearing the teacher's words, he closed the book and stood up from under the tree. Li Jianyue ran over and was about to wipe Li Jianqian's body with her 2 dusty hands. Li Jianqian avoided it vigilantly and blocked it with the book in his hand. He said coldly, "It's dirty. Don't touch me. Daisu is bad. You think I'm dirty?" Li Jianyue pouted and angrily stomped her feet and turned to wash her hands. "I want to tell Mom that you not only think I'm stupid, but now you think I'm dirty. I'll let Mom teach you a lesson. I won't take you to see Dad's photos in the future." Li Jianqian didn't want to talk to her. He took the book in his hand and waited for her to wash her hands. Then they went to the classroom to pick up the small school bag and walked to the kindergarten gate. However, he didn't see Su Qianxi. "Where's Mom?" Li Jianyue carried a small school bag and looked around at the gate of the kindergarten, but she didn't see Su Qianxi. But when she looked to the left, she saw a lively little white rabbit squatting there. It was covered in fluffy fur and it was looking at her with its red eyes. Li Jianyue's eyes lit up and walked toward the little white rabbit. However, the little white rabbit was afraid of people. When it saw her, it turned around and ran away. Li Jianyue jumped and chased after it, shouting, "Little rabbit, don't run." Li Jianqian was looking around at his mother's car. When he heard her words, Li Jianyue had already run over there. "Ursu, don't run around. Mosen hasn't come yet." Li Jianqian shouted, but Li Jianyue didn't seem to hear and soon disappeared around the corner. It was a small alley, behind which was the kindergarten's garden and teacher's dormitory. Li Jianqian had a bad feeling in his heart. He carried his small school bag and chased after him. But when he ran over, he saw a strange uncle standing there, wearing a cap on his head and a mask on his face. When Li Jianqian saw it, he stopped and looked behind the uncle but did not find his sister. "Are you looking for your little sister?" The uncle suddenly spoke with a smile. Li Jianxian felt that something was wrong and was about to step back, but the uncle suddenly came forward and grabbed him, lifted him up, covered his mouth and went to the flowers next to him. Li Jianxian's eyes widened. It turned out that there was a hole in the flowers. The uncle grabbed him and crawled through the hole, out of the wall of the kindergarten, and then carried him into a silver-gray van. As soon as he got in the car, Li Jianxian saw Li Jianyue holding a little rabbit in her arms. When she saw him, she smiled sweetly and 2 small dimples appeared on her face. "Brother, look, a little rabbit." Li Jianxian looked at her and suddenly felt a headache coming on. Didn't this girl know that she had been caught by the bad guys? She was still playing with a little rabbit? For the nth time, he thought that his sister must have been switched by the hospital when she was born. Otherwise, how could there be such a big difference in IQ? Looking at the uncle who had just caught them, Li Jianxian's eyes were panicked, but his little face was calm, and he asked in a deep voice, "What do you want?" Li Jianxian's attitude was far beyond the man's expectation. He thought that he would be as easy to fool as the girl, but now it seemed that the gap was huge. He pushed him in and said softly, "Be good, I'll call your mother to pick you up now." During the conversation, Li Jianxian clearly saw him pick up a business card and a mobile phone. The business card with white characters on a black background was extremely familiar. President of LS Group, Su Qianxi. Chapter 549. Li Jianxian saw the uncle throw the business card and the mobile phone into the front seat of the car. A beautiful woman was sitting in the front seat of the car, wearing heavy makeup and a strong perfume smell, which was very pungent. In the passenger seat, a young man with dyed hair was sitting. He started the car and slowly moved forward. The beautiful woman took the phone and began to dial. The middle-aged man took out 2 white straps from the small pocket in front of him. Li Jianxian saw this and his face was not very good. On his small face, his lips tightened into a red arc and he said, "Ursu." Li Jianyue, who was touching the bunny, looked up and looked at Li Jianxian with some doubts. "Do you know what you have done?" As soon as Li Jianxian finished speaking, he was taken away by the uncle, and his 2 small hands were lifted up. "When will you let us go?" Li Jianxian asked stubbornly with a pale face. He knew that he was kidnapped but he couldn't panic. His sister didn't know anything and he had to protect her. When the uncle heard this, the smile on his face deepened, and his voice was very gentle. He said, "Be good, uncle will buy you candy to eat later. Uncle will not beat you nor will he scold you. When your mother comes I will let you go with her, okay?" "Okay." Li Jianyue responded with a sweet voice. "Uncle, I like to eat cotton candy." "Okay, uncle will buy you cotton candy. What does little brother like to eat?" Li Jianxian did not want to pay attention to him. His pair of small hands had been tied behind him and hidden behind the small school bag. The woman in front had already dialed Su Qianxi's phone number, stretched and said, "President Su, do you remember me? We met at the opening ceremony of Xiangxianu Village last time. You gave me a ticket to Xiangxianu Village. Do you remember?" Su Qianxi held the phone and stood in the kindergarten. Several teachers stood in a row. Under the threat of Shuangyu's face, they were so scared that they didn't even dare to breathe. Beside Shuangyu, a little boy was sobbing. Naturally curly dark brown hair, deep and 3-dimensional childish facial features, and a pair of blue eyes full of tears. At this moment he was grabbing Shuangyu's coat, crying and apologizing, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lose the little young master and the little princess, I'm sorry." Su Qianxi glanced at the little guy, reached out and rubbed his hair and said to the person on the phone, "I don't remember. What do you want?" On the day of the opening ceremony she personally handed out hundreds of tickets. How could she remember every single one of them? The woman seemed to have expected it. She said, "It's normal that you don't remember. I'm looking for you this time to tell you that your son and daughter are in my hands. Recently, I'm a little short of money so I want to borrow some money from you. But they are all fine. I didn't touch them, but if you dare to call the police then it's another matter. How much do you want?" Su Qianxi's voice was very calm, which was the style of President Su. Chapter 550. I want to talk to my son. The woman pouted, turned around and handed the phone over. President Su wants to talk to the young master. The phone was placed in Li Jianxian's ear and Su Qianxi called, "Daisu." Li Jianxian closed his mouth but seeing the woman's threatening face he couldn't help but say, "Mom, we are fine. Don't worry, the sisters here are very good to us." "Sister, uncle and brother, there are 3 people there?" Su Qianxi narrowed her eyes and listened to the movement over there. "Smart child, The woman heard the word sister, smiled happily, took the phone back and nodded with satisfaction. You heard it? I will wait for you at Guangda. I know you have a very powerful bodyguard. Don't take her and don't call the police. Come alone and call me when you arrive. Otherwise, I don't know what I will do. Our goal is just money. We will leave when we get the money. I know 10 million is nothing to you. I hope we can cooperate well, President Su. After that, she hung up the phone. Su Qinxi lowered her eyes and sent the phone number to Luo Zhan's WeChat. Locate the detailed address of this number. My son and daughter were kidnapped, and let uncle come over to help. Luo Zhan quickly replied, damn. He immediately added, okay. Shuangyu, you send Mosun back first. I have something to do. Shuangyu nodded, reached out and took little Mosun and walked outside. Su Qinxi asked Xiao Yang to withdraw the cash and she drove the RV to the place they said. The two little guys were very honest, especially the little girl who looked pink and tender holding a little rabbit. A pair of big eyes looked here and there, blinked and asked, Uncle, are you a bad person? The uncle looked over and said, how can uncle be a bad person? I still want to buy you cotton candy to eat. Oh, but I just heard you asking my mother for money. Uncle said that only bad people will kidnap us to ask for money from my mother. The kidnapper is the bad person, but uncle did not kidnap you nor did he tie you up, the kidnapper said with a smile. Li Jianxian's hands were tied, but Li Jianyue's were not. Li Jianyue nodded without doubt. So that's the case, but why did you tie my brother's hands? Why did you kidnap my brother but not me? Am I worthless? Haha. The punk in the driver's seat laughed. He was wearing a mask on his face. He looked over while driving and asked, how old are you, little girl? 3.5. There was a hint of pride in her crisp voice. Mommy said that when we turn 4 she'll take us to Horse Ears to play. It's so fun, so fun. Li Jianxian leaned against the back of the car seat and said, idiot, that's the Maldives. Li Jianyue's little face was puffed up with anger. She put her hands on her hips and said, brother is a bad guy. It's obviously a horse's ear. You're the one who remembered wrongly. Why did you have to call me an idiot? Little rabbit, bite him, bite him. As he spoke, he held the little rabbit and bit Li Jianxian's hand. The little rabbit sniffed and then quickly turned its head away. Chapter 551. Haha, this little girl is so fun. The car entered the vast parking lot. The punk laughed and found a parking space to stop. Little girl, what's your name? My name is Li. Before he finished speaking, the phone rang. The woman smiled happily, opened the door and got out of the car. She answered the phone. Hello, have you arrived? Where are you? Wait for me at the milk tea shop on the 3rd floor. I'll be there soon. After hanging up the phone, the woman turned her head and said, be sure to keep an eye on them. When the money is in our hands, we can go far away. Go. The punk couldn't wait to urge. Finish it quickly. The woman quickly twisted her waist and left. The two men talked to Li Jianyue, but Li Jianyue wanted to play with the little bunnies and ignored them. The two men simply smoked in the car. Suddenly, a tall man walked over from the front. At a glance, he was at least 185 centimeters tall. He was wearing a tight short-sleeved t-shirt. It was so simple that there was no logo on it. However, the lines of his upper body were exposed. He wore a cap and a big pair of sunglasses. His lower body was casual wash jeans and white sneakers. It looked simple, but it showed an unusual temperament on him. Noble and handsome. Damn, why is this world so unfair? You can tell that he is a handsome guy even without looking at his face. The uncle flicked the cigarette ash and smiled. Maybe this is fate. I guess he is also a star. His temperament is different. However, the man quickly walked towards them and came to the driver's seat window. Bang bang. The window was knocked. The punk looked at the man closely and was even more amazed. He rolled down the window. The man immediately looked at the back seat of their car and saw the two children sitting obediently. His eyes under the sunglasses narrowed slightly and he said slowly, come out for a while. An order that could not be disobeyed. When the punk heard this tone, he was angry and sneered. Who the hell are you? What do you want? When the man saw this, his lips seemed to spread into a smile. It was very shallow and almost imperceptible. Seeing this, the punk was even angrier. However, before he could react, he saw the punk's hand reach out and pull him over, strangling his neck. The uncle in the back seat was shocked. He immediately got out of the car and roared, "What are you doing?" As he spoke, he raised his fist and threw a punch. The tall young man leaned to the side and lifted his leg to kick the uncle's chest. The uncle grunted in anger. He got into the car and picked up a pair of large garden shears from under the seat, ready to throw them at the man. The young man raised his eyebrows slightly. After releasing the punk, he ran away. The punk coughed violently and said angrily, "Damn it, don't let him get away, bastard." Then he got out of the car, picked up the fruit knife hidden in the car and chased after him. The tall man only ran for a dozen meters before he stopped and waved at them provocatively. The two men were even more furious. They rushed forward at the same time. The uncle swung the big scissors and smashed it, while the punk pounced forward and waved his fruit knife. Chapter 552. Just stay here. The two people just now are bad guys. They want to kidnap us and extort money from Mom. Li Jianxian turned around and said, "Help me untie this. Let's run now." Li Jinrui found the key point. Her fingers carefully opened the white rope, and her little face was wrinkled. "How do you untie this? You need scissors. There may be scissors under the chair. Didn't the uncle just take out a pair of scissors?" Yes. Li Jinrui immediately climbed down and went under the chair. Sure enough, she saw a lot of knives. Taking out the smallest one, Li Jinrui was a little excited and said, "So many knives, brother, look. Be careful, don't cut yourself. Cut the rope and let's run now." "Okay." Li Jinrui carefully cut the rope on Li Jianxian's hand, and Li Jianxian finally regained his freedom. The two little guys got out of the car and found that the two uncles had been lying on the ground. The culprit who had gotten rid of them was walking toward them at that moment. His footsteps were slow and steady. His tall and straight body was strong and powerful. With one look, it was obvious that he was in no way inferior to their uncle, Li Jinan. This man was very dangerous. Li Jianxian suddenly felt a sense of danger, and his little face was pale with fear. He shouted, "Ursa, run!" Li Jinrui heard the sudden shout of Li Jianxian and was shocked. Her little face changed and she was about to cry. Run, brother." Li Jianxian took Li Jinrui and ran toward the back, but it was clear that the man behind him was not only taller than the average person, but his legs were also particularly long. He caught up in a few steps. The two little guys only felt that they were shrouded by a layer of black shadow. The two little guys were scared and shouted, "Help! Help!" After Su Qinxi arrived at the destination, she parked the car directly at the door. After waiting for a while, she received the cash from Xiao Yang. Asking him to wait for Li Jinan, Su Qinxi called the number just now. At the milk tea shop on the third floor, Su Qinxi bought a cup of milk tea and sat down looking around. Suddenly the phone rang. It was the woman from earlier. "I see you. Now put the money down. Your child is in the underground parking lot, basement 1. I will tell them to put the child down. You can go down directly to see them." "How can I trust you? What if you take the money and don't let him go?" Su Qinxi narrowed her eyes vigilantly and glanced around, but did not notice anyone suspicious. "Stop looking. You can't see me. Did you come alone? Did you see anyone else? Very good. You're honest, so am I. Now go down the safe passage. I'll follow behind you and watch you. When you see the child, put the money down. I only want money." Su Qinxi thought about it and agreed. Carrying the money, he walked down the safe passage. But as soon as he pushed open the door of the passage, he heard the tender voices of children. It was Daesu and Ursu. "Help, help." Chapter 553. Asshole. Su Qinxi screamed, still holding the box of money in her hand, and strode toward him. The tall man straightened up and turned to look at her. When he saw her like this, he stuffed the two children into the gap between the two cars and took a large step back. "You don't keep your promise. Didn't I say I would not touch them?" Su Qinxi threw the box of money forward and kicked it. The tall man lowered the brim of his hat, and the large sunglasses completely covered his face. Surprised to see the box coming, he subconsciously reached out to catch it. However, he never expected that in just a moment, Su Qinxi's fist had already reached his ear. Startled, the man dodged sideways and blocked Su Qinxi's hand with the box. Su Qinxi punched the box and grimaced in pain. But soon she kicked at the man's weakness. The man shrank back, pursed his light red lips and curled up slightly. In a flash, he reached out and grabbed her ankle. Su Qinxi was caught instead. Flustered, she wanted to take her foot back, but the man's hand was extremely steady. Although he was wearing big sunglasses on his face, Su Qinxi still clearly noticed that his eyes were unscrupulously glancing at her lower body. She whistled. Su Qinxi was wearing a summer dress. Although she was wearing safety pants, they had already shrunk as she moved. At this moment, hearing this whistle, Su Qianxi's face suddenly turned red and she roared, "Pervert!" The man did not make a sound, grabbed her ankle with his big hand and pulled her over. Su Qianxi lost her balance and exclaimed. Just when she thought she was going to fall, a big hand clasped her shoulder and picked her up. Su Qianxi felt a chill on her back, and in a blink of an eye, she had been pressed against the rough wall of the parking lot. Furious, Su Qianxi raised her hands and pinched his armpits. This was the ultimate move that Li Jinan taught her. No matter how strong she was, when her armpits were stuck, her hands would become sore. However, the man seemed to have seen through her moves. He retracted his hand, revealing a provocative smile on his thin red lips. His hand that was on her shoulder slowly moved downwards, brushing past the inside of her arm and the side of her waist. Ah! Su Qianxi was mad. She raised her fist and punched him in the face, but before her fist landed, the man had already stepped back. Don't run. Seeing that he was about to turn and run, she was furious. She took off her shoe and hit him on the back of his head. The man was hit head-on and staggered, but he was not in a hurry to turn around. Hearing the footsteps behind him, he turned back, grabbed Su Qianxi's hand and twisted it. Su Qianxi screamed and was pinned against the hood of a nearby car. One of the man's feet was on her butt and his head was close. She felt his hot breath on her ear and lost all her strength. She yelled angrily, "Bastard, let me go!" Chapter 554. After that, Su Qianxi felt that her hand was held and then tightened. The man pulled away and turned his head to see a woman sneaking toward the money box. Seeing the man turn his head, she was shocked and ran away with the box. But how could she compete with him? Su Qianxi was furious. She got up, only to find that her hand was tied with a white band, tied to the license plate of the car. The man caught up with the woman in a few steps and knocked her out with a karate chop. Then he tied the woman's hands up with white bandages and threw her into a corner where Su Qianxi could not see. The man picked up the money box not far away and jumped into a white convertible sports car. He waved at her with his back facing her. Then, the beautiful sound of the engine sounded and the car quickly drove away. At the same time, the two children ran over at the same time. "Mom?" Li Jianxian's white and delicate cheeks finally recovered, and there was guilt and self-blame on his face. "Mom, I'm sorry." Li Jianyue blinked and saw Su Qianxi's tied hands. She exclaimed, "Oh, Mom is also tied up. That bad uncle is really a bad guy." "Sister-in-law, where are you?" Luo Zhan's voice echoed in the parking lot. Su Qianxi only felt that she was unlucky and replied, "Here." Luo Zhan ran over, a little out of breath. Su Qianxi saw him and asked, "Where is my uncle?" "He is on the way here. It's a bit far from the company. He probably hasn't arrived yet." Luo Zhan happened to see Su Qianxi's messy hair and slightly untidy clothes. He looked mad and said, "What's the matter? Did you fight with someone?" Su Qianxi felt a burst of irritation. Her free hand tidied up her clothes and said, "Help me untie it first." "Mom, I have a knife." Li Jianyue suddenly remembered something and ran away. When Su Qianxi saw it, she said sternly, "Li Ersu, don't run around." Li Jianyue had long been used to her mother's warning. She didn't want to stop at all. Luo Zhan had no choice but to carry her back and put her beside Li Jianxian. "Take care of your sister." As he spoke, he took out a metal lighter from his pocket. He pushed the bottom of the lighter and a sharp knife appeared. He reached out and cut it and the binding was untied. After she untied it, she rubbed her wrist and walked to the corner where the man had left the woman. At a glance, he saw 3 people lying on the ground. They were all unconscious. Luo Zhan came over with the 2 children and was slightly stunned. "Who did this?" "This is the person who kidnapped us," Li Jianxian said as he pulled Luo Zhan's hand. "Let's call the police," Su Qianxi said and then looked at the surveillance cameras in every corner of the parking lot, which were all covered with white tape. It seems that the kidnappers have been planning for a long time and are ready to do the dirty work. Damn it. Su Qianxi thought of the feeling of her chest being rubbed hard and couldn't express the anger in her heart. She gritted her teeth and said, "We must find out who the accomplice is." In the past 3 years, Luo Zhan had rarely seen Su Qianxi so angry. He slightly avoided her and saw Su Qianxi walking back the way she came. Chapter 555. Holding the 2 children, Luo Zhan fell behind and called the police. Li Jianyue shouted for the little rabbit. Luo Zhan had to take her to find the little rabbit and hold it in his arms. When they returned to the old house, they saw Li Mosen squatting at the door waiting for them. Li Mosen saw Su Qianxi's RV coming and immediately ran up. The 5-year-old child's legs were not long, but Li Mosen's physical fitness and development were good, and he ran very fast. Seeing the young master and the little princess walking out of the car hand in hand, Li Mosen was so happy that his eyes were red. Finally back. Li Jianyue saw Li Mosen like this and said with some disgust, "Blue children can't cry. Mom said that girls can cry, unless brother Mosen wants to be Mosen's sister in the future, then you can cry." Li Mosen quickly covered up the strangeness and looked at her arms. Li Jianyue proudly handed the little rabbit out and said, "Look, little rabbit, isn't it cute?" "Not as cute as you. The little princess is the cutest," Li Mosen said honestly. Li Jianyue smiled happily and went up to hold his hand. She said with a smile, "Brother Mosen is the best. Let's go play with great-grandfather." Luo Zhan heard Li Mosen's words and silently gave him a thumbs up. Good guy, he was so good at picking up girls at such a young age. What would happen when he grew up? Li Mosen looked at the hand held by Li Jianyue and deep in his blue eyes he was moved. However, he quickly slapped her hand away and said, "You go first, I have something to talk to madam." Hearing this, Li Jianyue was a little unhappy and said seriously in a childish voice, "How many times have I said, don't call my mother madam, just call my mother auntie?" Luo Zhan took Li Jianxian's hand and whispered, "Let's take our sister to play with great-grandfather." "Okay." Li Jianxian nodded and looked at Li Mosen with a pair of phoenix eyes. "Mosen, let's practice taekwondo tonight." "Okay." The two little guys were taken away, and Su Qianxi's eyes fell on Li Mosen. She walked in front and walked in. Shuangyu had been watching from afar. Seeing them coming, she followed them in. Qin Shuhua had been worried sick. When she saw her grandchildren come back, she let out a sigh of relief. Seeing that Li Mosen had followed Su Qianxi in, he complained, "You are really something. Why don't you keep an eye on them? You know that the little princess is playful. You should be with them." Of course he was referring to Li Mosen. Li Mosen pursed his lips, nodded and lowered his head. Soon tears welled up in her eyes. She knelt down in front of Su Qianxi and whispered, "Madam, I know I was wrong. I will take good care of the young master and the little princess in the future. What happened today will never happen again." His life was saved by madam. Ever since he was sensible, he knew that his duty in life was to protect his wife's 2 children. If he couldn't even handle such a small matter, then he couldn't stay in the Li family. After all, he was a wild child. Even his biological mother wanted to smash him to death. If it weren't for madam and the teacher who had been missing for 3 to 4 years, he wouldn't even exist in this world. Li Mosen knew. He had always known. Chapter 556. When Qin Shuhua saw this, she felt that it was natural and looked at him with more reproach. Li Jianyue saw this scene, but felt uncomfortable in her heart. She asked, "Why did brother Mosen kneel?" "Great-grandfather said that there is gold under a man's knees. He can't kneel. If he kneels, the gold will fall." Su Qianxi did not avoid it. She squatted down and looked at Li Mosen. She made him look at her and said with a straight face, "Did I say not to blame yourself for everything?" Li Mosen lowered his head and did not speak. Last time Ursu fell into the pit, she deserved it. This time they were kidnapped also because of Ursu. Don't take everything on yourself. You don't owe us. You are also a child of our Li family. In the future you are not allowed to kneel easily, and you are not allowed to call me madam. Otherwise, I will drive you away and send you back to the orphanage to let those children bully you. Before Li Mosen was 3 years old, he had been in the orphanage. Because of premature birth, his health was very poor, and he was often bullied by the children in the orphanage. He was also laughed at by the older children for his different eyes, different hair and different skin color. It was not until 2 years ago when Su Qianxi brought him to the Li family that he knew there was such a paradise in the world. A beautiful warm home. Li Mosen heard this and tears fell down. However, he looked up at Su Qianxi stubbornly and nodded. "I know. Then what do you call me?" "Auntie." Su Qianxi touched his nose. "Go wash your hands and teach your brother and sister to wash their hands and then eat." "Okay." Li Mosen stood up and walked over. Li Jianyue struggled from Qin Shuhua's arms and shouted, "Grandma, let me go. I should go wash my hands." Okay. Qin Shuhua liked this granddaughter very much. She was obedient and cute. Her slightly wrinkled face was full of a doting smile. "Be sure to wash your hands well so that you can eat clean." "Got it?" Li Jianyue did not look back. She reached out to Li Mosen and said with a smile, "Brother Mosen, let's go wash our hands." When Li Jianyue walked in with Li Mosen, Li Jianxian also followed and put his hand on his shoulder. They stood side by side silently. The three children went to wash their hands. Su Qianxi told Qin Shuhua what had happened, and Qin Shuhua was terrified. Especially when he heard that the 10 million had been taken away, there was a hint of regret in his eyes. But he still said, "It's good that the children are fine. But I think we can't let them go to kindergarten anymore. If this kind of thing happens once, there will be a second time. If there's a third time, there will be a fourth time. Everyone knows that our money is easy to extort. Wouldn't they all be eyeing our children? Why don't we just hire a home tutor for them? They can learn at home in the future. There are so many bodyguards at home, so it's more convenient to take care of them. When they grow up, they can go to school outside and interact with people. What do you think?" Su Qianxi nodded. "I think so too. I will ask someone to arrange it." "Okay." Seeing that Su Qianxi finally agreed with her, Qin Shuhua was overjoyed. At the same time, she took Su Qianxi's hand and said, "Thank you for all these years." Su Qianxi looked down, smiled, and stood up. "Not at all. Let's eat, Mom. Where's Dad?" Chapter 557. Okay. Luo Zhan was not polite at all. In the past few years he had been used to freeloading. Just after dinner, Luo Zhan took the initiative to leave. Li Jinnan had already bought his own house and moved out 2 years ago. But today he still went back to the old house and brought back some information for Su Qianxi to look through. After taking a shower and drying her hair, Su Qianxi held the information in her room and read it. However, the longer she looked, the more annoyed she felt. The touch on her chest could not be forgotten. However, she had been bullied like that, but she did not even see the face of the gangster. "Bastard. I'm so angry." "Ah." Su Qianxi angrily threw the pen away. Her body seemed to be suffocating and she was fuming. Unable to stand it, she simply turned on the computer, puffed up her cheeks, and logged into her social account. As soon as she logged in, a gray and white avatar was jumping and flashing. Clicking on it, it was L. Goduming County bidding the day after tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m. Royal Hotel, must win a simple sentence explaining the time, place and purpose. Su Qianxi looked at those words and clicked on the chat history. L. Kingstown Eastern Suburbs, good potential, can enter L. The weather is getting cold, pay attention to your health L. GC is in a difficult situation but has a strong foundation, can be acquired L. Influenza is rampant, pay attention to the children L. Fang Siuan Tongling bidding the 17th at 3 o'clock p.m. Shilling Square, must win, for more than 3 years, this L would send her messages. But the number was very small, and almost every message would be at least a month apart. If it was not a blessing, it was business advice and guidance. At first, Su Qianxi did not feel anything about this L, but as time went by, she actually had a sense of dependence on this stranger she had never met. For so long, every time Su Qianxi replied, he rarely responded. Occasionally when he was in a good mood he might reply with an emoji, smile, but in addition to these brief words he rarely sent any text. Su Qianxi's eyes narrowed, and her fingers bounced a few times on the keyboard. Su Qianxi, thank you Mr. L. There was no response from the other side. Su Qianxi looked for a while and typed a string of words. Su Qianxi, will you go the day after tomorrow? She curled her lips. Knowing that he would not reply, why did she ask? But just as she was about to retreat, a message suddenly popped up. L. No. Su Qianxi felt inexplicably a little surprised. Looking at the 2 words, she had expected it. To his surprise, another message popped up. L. You want to see me? Su Qianxi, yes. L. When I go back to China. She was dazed and asked, you are not in the country? Oh my God, how could he know so much about Kingstown outside of China? That was impossible, right? However, L had already stopped replying. Looking at the chat box, Su Qianxi was slightly dazed and frowned. Really? Fake. If it was true, then he was too powerful. But if it was fake, why would he lie to her? What was his motive? She thought for a moment and clicked on the chat box with Luo Zhan. Su Qianxi, are you there? Z. Here Su Qianxi, help me trace an IP address. Z. Send. Su Qianxi sent L's account and Luo Zhan quickly replied. San Francisco, USA. Su Qianxi. What about before? Where? Z. How long ago? Su Qianxi, 3 or 4 years ago. Z. Picture. Chapter 558. The picture Luo Zhan intercepted was very, very long. However, Su Qianxi looked at it one by one and felt it was very short. The login location of this account was very unstable. Su Qianxi looked at the first one and saw Italy, Australia, Maldives, Huaxia, the United Kingdom. Since 5 years ago the location of this account had not returned to Huaxia. Looking at the time, it was also very unstable. From 5 years ago to 4 years ago he did not log in for a year in between. When he logged in again it was the first time he chatted with her. Twins, congratulations. The time of waiting for him to log in also coincided with the time when he sent a message to her. That was to say, except for when he sent a message to her, he would not log in at all at other times. Did he specifically log in to find her? Who was this? Originally, Su Qianxi suspected that it was Li Xiqing. However, Li Xiqing had been in the country since he disappeared, and then he was so injured that he could not move at all. Bo Xiao took him away. There must be a purpose. It was impossible to fly around with him, right? Su Qianxi was puzzled. A picture had already exposed the life and history of this account. Could it be that this person was a fugitive? Otherwise, why would he run around? Mysterious. More and more mysterious, this Mr. L. She couldn't figure it out, so she simply didn't think about it. However, the kitten in her heart refused to give up, kept scratching and could not calm down for a long time. She turned off the computer and looked down at the information again. After all the documents were processed, it was already after 10 o'clock in the evening. Su Qianxi walked to the room of the 3 children. On the 3 small beds there were 3 little guys lying. The outermost was Li Mosen's small bed. He seemed to hear the movement, turned over, turned his head, and looked at her with a pair of blue eyes, which seemed to reflect the light outside, overflowing with light. Su Qianxi was taken aback but quickly recovered and whispered, "Go to sleep, cover yourself with the quilt." Li Mosen did not answer, nodded, and lay down obediently. This child had always been a light sleeper. A little movement could wake him up, which was not a good habit. However, thinking that this was a habit he had raised in the orphanage, her heart was a little painful. Poor child. Further inside, it was Li Jianxian's little bed. He slept soundly, breathing steadily. The one with the worst sleeping posture was Li Jianyue. Li Jianyue's mouth was wide open, and saliva was dripping from the corner of her mouth. Her head and the pillow were in 2 different places. A corner of the quilt was lifted, but the rest of the quilt was neatly covering her body. It was obvious that someone else had covered her from behind. Needless to say, it must be that insecure little guy, Li Mosen. Su Qianxi felt a bit helpless. After wiping her saliva, she lifted her head, put a small pillow under her head, and adjusted her sleeping position so that she could sleep well. Li Jianyue didn't notice. She flipped over and kicked the thin blanket away. His sleeping posture was terrible. Su Qianxi covered her with the quilt again and tucked it under her arm. After making sure she wouldn't run away, she turned and walked out. Chapter 559. Then she quietly walked out and closed the door. What Su Qianxi did not notice was that there was a satisfied smile on Li Mosen's face. He whispered happily, "Good night." The next day, Su Qianxi asked the secretary to start looking for a tutor for the children. Because Qing Yu asked for maternity leave, Su Qianxi also promoted a capable secretary to be her special assistant. Her surname was Bai and she was smart, capable, and diligent. Although she was not as capable as Qing Yu, she would not make any mistakes. After explaining this matter, Special Assistant Bai turned around and went to do it. Su Qianxi was presiding over the meeting, but halfway through, her phone rang. It was the Kingstown police. "President Su? The 3 prisoners you reported yesterday have all confessed. Is it convenient for you to come to the police station?" "Wait a minute, I'm in a meeting. Is 3 in the afternoon okay?" "Yes, see you at 3 in the afternoon." Hanging up the phone, Su Qianxi continued the meeting. After dealing with a lot of affairs, she suddenly remembered what Mr. L said last night. The bidding for Guduming County, the day after tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m. Royal Hotel must win. Although she had never seen him, after years of dealing with him, Su Qianxi trusted L, who she had never met. Since he said he must win, it must be a very good place. Su Qianxi did some investigation and found that this place was located in a town near Kingstown, but it was not far from downtown Kingstown. In her previous life, Li Xiqing developed a piece of land to invest in a new project. Here he applied to set up a connecting subway and then developed the surrounding area. Because of this real estate, the surrounding area miraculously began to rise in price, and in less than half a year the price doubled. However, according to her memory, because of the price advantage, the competition for Guduming County was very fierce. In the end, Li Xiqing won the land at 5 times the price, and many people were amazed by the courage of President Li. She had to say that L's vision was also very unique, so similar to Li Xiqing's. This piece of land Su Qianxi was determined to win. Making up her mind, she went to the vice president's office. Li Jinan was on the phone. Seeing her coming in, he waved his hand and hung up the phone after talking for about 3 or 4 minutes. She told him her plan and he nodded. Okay, let's go together tomorrow night. Li Jinan agreed without hesitation, but no one expected that such an unexpected thing would happen at the auction tomorrow night. Hearing his response, Su Qianxi threw the document at him, stretched, yawned and said, "Brother-in-law, is it too easy for you to be the vice president now? I'll give you the position of president, okay?" Not good. He picked up the pack of cigarettes on the table, took one out and lit it. It's best if you don't ask me to do anything. Let me enjoy my life. You know that's not my ambition. Yes, Li Jinan had always wanted to open an entertainment company and support a bunch of celebrities while he leisurely became a boss who did not have to do anything. Chapter 560. She was not only physically tired but also mentally tired. Everyone knew that after the big boss of the Li Group died, the original boss's wife took over and became President Su. She had a lot of money. However, no one knew how much she didn't want to be President Su. If Li Xiqing was there, she would not be so tired. More importantly, she felt that she was exhausted, but the achievements of the Li Group were not as good as when Li Xiqing was there. Not enough, not enough. Li Xiqing was much more powerful than her. He could magnify the benefits and achievements of anything she did, and magnify it many times. Li Jinan sat on the chair, holding a cigarette between his long fingers. He slowly puffed out the smoke and his almond-shaped eyes were half closed. After a long while, he suddenly said, "Sister-in-law?" His voice was different from Li Xiqing's cold and mellow. It had an indescribable magnetism, like a big bell ringing in people's ears at midnight. It was very distinctive. He said, "In fact, a few days ago my brother contacted me." Su Qianxi looked at him, her heart slightly tightened, a little nervous. Recently there was a drug gang that was particularly arrogant. They traded in broad daylight. Big Brother followed the drug enforcement team around and only caught a middle-level person. After a round of interrogation, we found that there was no problem with their finances. Su Qianxi's face darkened and she blurted out, "Money laundering?" Li Jinan nodded his head. He flicked the cigarette ash and leaned back in his chair. He looked lazy and comfortable. Moreover, the place where the money was laundered is in Kingstown. There are too many companies in Kingstown, so we can't find any of them yet. We can't find any evidence at all. You suspect that this gang is Bo Zhao's gang? Yes, but there is no evidence, just a guess. I'm guessing that they must have a very good business consultant and a very good operator. Very good. Su Qianxi's eyes darkened as she looked at Li Jinan. Li Jinan also looked at her, put out the cigarette and said, "I am looking for evidence, so is my brother and the anti-drug team in Kingstown. As soon as there is news they will tell us. I believe it will not be long before we find him." Su Qianxi curled her lips and whispered, "I hope so." She had been hoping for him, but after 4 years he still hadn't come back. In her heart, she was more disappointed than hopeful. This was an endless thing. Su Qianxi could not see the end and so could Li Jinan. "Well, I still have something to do. I'm going to the police station. The guys who kidnapped Daesu and Ursu yesterday have confessed. I have to go and have a look. Be careful, take Shuangyu with you. Shuangyu is always here. Let's go." She went back to her office, grabbed her purse and asked Yang to drive them to the police station. All 3 of them were handcuffed and the 2 men were bruised. Obviously they had been beaten badly. The woman's makeup had been removed, and she looked at Su Qianxi with a pale face. "They've all confessed. They don't have accomplices. Only the 3 of them kidnapped your child. They don't even know the person who appeared later." "You don't know him?" Su Qianxi obviously did not believe it. Isn't it an internal conflict? Chapter 561. That's right, another man chimed in. "There's no money involved at all. At best we're just fooling the child. We even bought a little rabbit for the child. We didn't hurt them. Please, I have a family to take care of. I can't go to jail. President Su, I know you are the kindest. I have a child who is the same age as your child. Do you have the heart to let him have no father?" When Su Qianxi heard this, she coldly curled her lips and said to the police officer next to her, "Do what you need to do. The confession has been recorded. I still have work to do, so I'll go first." Before she turned around, she heard their curses behind her. Su Qianxi ignored them. In a place where they could not see, a pair of eyes were as cold as frost. If he was not their accomplice, then he was a lone ranger from outside? In any case, this pervert, the next time she saw him, she must catch him and kill him. Thinking of the 2 blows on her chest, Su Chenxi's chest was full of anger. She was so angry that even her footsteps were a lot heavier. From childhood to adulthood, except for Li Xiqing, no one had touched her there. Who did he think he was? Moreover, when he recalled the teasing whistle yesterday, he felt even more suffocated in his heart. Walking to the side of the car, Su Chenxi was so angry that she kicked the door hard and roared, "Bastard!" Yang was sitting in the driver's seat. He was scared, blinked, and looked at Shuangyu behind Su Chenxi. Shuangyu spread her hands behind Su Chenxi. After swallowing silently, Yang coughed and asked weakly, "President Su, where are we going now?" "Back to the company." It was not the first time that the Royal Hotel had welcomed this kind of bidding event. The event was a little grand, and many famous people were invited to attend. When Su Chenxi and Li Jinan entered, many people recognized them and nodded to them one by one. Walking to the back and sitting down, Su Chenxi inadvertently glanced and saw a slender figure in front of her, inexplicably feeling a bit familiar. Looking over, Su Chenxi stared at the figure and narrowed her eyes. Someone next to her noticed Su Chenxi's gaze and shouted, "President Su, are you looking at the girl in front?" Su Chenxi looked sideways, smiled politely, and nodded. "She's the general manager of a new company. Her surname is Tang. She's a very powerful woman." "Done?" Su Chenxi suddenly felt her head buzzing. The 2 parallel lines were suddenly connected together. Surname Tang? Tang Menjing? This back view was indeed very familiar. "What is her name?" she asked in a low voice. The boss of the small business didn't expect that she would really respond to him, and his eyes lit up. Especially when he thought that she was only 25 years old, his heart suddenly became fiery, and he said more enthusiastically, "Her name is Tang Qing, 30 years old this year. I heard that she is not married yet. She is now in a company called TL, and there is another person above her. I heard that TL is particularly interested in Gudu Ming County this time, so they came prepared." "Tang Qing?" Su Chenxi looked at his back and narrowed her eyes. Tang Qing seemed to notice Su Chenxi's gaze and quickly looked over. When Su Chenxi saw her face, she was shocked at first and then dazed. Then she smiled back and looked away. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.